Hello everyone, this is Fanfic Audiobook. Here you find original fan made audio stories.
Kung Fu World. I tried to quit, but ended up saving the world. Part 1. San Francisco, also known as Old Gold Mountain, is located in the USA and is the city with the largest Chinese population in the country. As the sun rose, its golden morning light pierced through the clouds and fell upon this solitary city, bringing it to life. Screech tilde. The harsh sound of brakes rang out as a bus that looked like it had been in service for many years wobbled to a halt at the side of the platform. The door opened, and a black-haired youth stepped out. The boy looked about 11 or 12 years old, with a calm gaze and a steady demeanor that didn't seem to belong to someone his age. He appeared to be traveling alone, carrying a travel backpack so exaggeratedly large it was almost as tall as he was. A tuft of short hair was tied at the back of his head, swaying slightly as he walked like a short rabbit tail. It was quite cute. After getting off the bus, the boy looked left and right, observing his surroundings. The streets weren't as tidy as he had imagined. There were rows of tall buildings, but also some suspicious-looking people. It doesn't seem much different from back home. The boy muttered a few words, placed his backpack on a nearby public bench, opened it, and began rummaging for something. Long sword, dagger, poison, small-scale homemade explosives, Krabby Patty, cream spray, where's the map? I remember putting it here. The boy murmured to himself while searching for what he needed. He had come to San Francisco to stay for a long time, so he had brought a lot of things. The map was buried near the bottom, making it quite a hassle to find. Fortunately, he didn't have a habit of misplacing things. He still vaguely remembered where the map was located in his backpack. Soon, he found the map. San Francisco City map. Spreading it out on the bench, he traced the route with his finger, committing the path he was about to take to memory. Old Mont's antique shop should be at this location. It's only 10 kilometers, I'll just walk there. The boy's tone was calm, as if he didn't consider 10 kilometers to be a big deal at all. Just as he was about to set off, a sudden voice called out to him. Hey, you're Chu Bai, right? The boy turned around, looking coldly at the young man standing before him with a kind smile, and spoke. You're the suspicious person who was lurking nearby just now. A thief. A human trafficker. What? No, I'm definitely not a human trafficker. The man cried out in alarm, hurriedly waving his hands to deny the accusation. My name is Jackie Chan. Old man sent me to pick you up. You can just call me Uncle Jackie. The smile remained on Jackie Chan's face as he extended his hand, wanting to give the young boy a friendly handshake. Chu Bai looked at the other's rough hand with some hesitation. After all, he rarely gave his trust to someone he was meeting for the first time. But seeing the deep kindness radiating from Jackie Chan, he still shook the man's hand. Hello, Uncle Jackie. He had heard the name Jackie Chan before. Old man had mentioned it to him on the phone. Furthermore, he couldn't sense even a hint of malice from the man. He seemed to have an innate ability to discern a person's good or evil intentions to a certain extent. Seeing that the boy was willing to accept him, Jackie Chan breathed a sigh of relief and then began to chatter incessantly. Let's go, we need to take a taxi back to old man's antique shop. It's really too far from here. I really don't understand why the bus station was built so far away. Is it just because it's close to the downtown area? Our area is pretty lively too. Let's hurry up. I still have to go back and help old man make coffee. What nonsense is he talking about? Isn't it normal for a bus station to be near the downtown area? Also, I remember old man didn't like drinking coffee before. Chu Bai critiqued the man in his mind, but the slight upward curve of his lips betrayed his pleasant mood. Jackie Chan's appearance saved him a lot of time. Otherwise, relying solely on his legs to walk to the old Mont's antique shop, who knows how long it would have taken. He might have even ended up sleeping on the streets tonight. Thank you, Uncle Jackie, you've been a big help. In the taxi, Chu Bai gradually became more familiar with Jackie Chan. He didn't believe he could live his whole life alone, so he had worked hard to learn how to communicate with others. Old man, we're back. Jackie Chan pushed open the door of the antique shop, shouting loudly like a child, with Chubai's exaggeratedly large backpack still on his back. Chubai looked through the gap and saw the scene inside. It wasn't as dim as the antique shops in his memory. The shelves on both sides were packed with antiques, and there was a strange fragrance. It smelled like mothballs. Chubai didn't understand these things and didn't care much. Old man was sitting at the front desk, seemingly reading a book intently. After hearing Jackie Chan's boisterous shouting, he said angrily, Iya tilde. Keep your voice down, Jackie. Old man can't focus on studying ancient texts. Sorry, old man. What ancient texts are you studying? After apologizing, Jackie Chan asked curiously. About noble qi and black qi. I've had a bad feeling lately. By the way, did you pick him up? Old man looked up and asked, clearly not wanting to linger on the previous topic. Of course. Jackie Chan stepped aside, and Chubai stepped forward, greeting old man. Long time no see, old man. His voice was flat, lacking the enthusiasm one might expect when seeing a long-lost family member. Yes, they were family, they had both lived in the same temple. Seeing the visitor, a rare smile appeared on old man's face as he exchanged pleasantries. You've finally arrived. Xiao Bai, it must have been hard on you with such a long journey. How has the Grand Master been lately? Same as always. Chu Bai shrugged. He had visited the temple before coming here, and the Grand Master was still in good spirits. After closing the shop door, Jackie Chan also walked toward old man, asking as he went. Old man, which room should he stay in? Right next to yours. Where else could he stay? Old man said irritably. He clearly didn't have the same patience for Jackie Chan as he did for Chu Bai. But it's a mess in there. Iya tilde. Do you expect old man's old bones to go up and clean it? Alright, then. Uncle Jackie felt the bitterness in his heart, but he didn't say it. And one more thing. Suddenly, as if remembering something, old man added. The university called. They want you to lead a team to investigate Linderhof Palace in Bavaria. You leave tomorrow. What? Jackie Chan was shocked. Linderhof Palace. That's a very dangerous castle, old man. It's precisely because it's dangerous that I want you to lead the team. Old man pressed two fingers together and gave Jackie Chan a sharp flick to the head, making him cry out in pain. Old man withdrew his hand and continued. By the way, take Xiao Bai with you. He'll be able to help you. What? X2. Both Jackie Chan and Chu Bai cried out in unison. Old man. Xiao Bai is just a kid. Jackie Chan was the first to voice his objection. Without realizing when it happened, Jackie Chan had already naturally started calling Chu Bai, Xiao Bai. Of course, Chu Bai didn't mind the nickname. Or rather, he didn't care what others called him. A child should just go to school peacefully. Archaeology is too dangerous for a kid. Yeah, old man, I just got here. I'm exhausted from the journey. Chu Bai was equally dissatisfied. Just as he was about to make an excuse to get out of it, he fell victim to old man's poisonous hand. Smack. X2. Ouch. X2. Old man silently withdrew his palm, his eyes fixed on the book on the table, and said. Take Xiao Bai with you, he'll help you. Back at the temple, he was our lucky star. Please, old man, lucky stars, and such are just superstitions. What era is this? Jackie Chan complained, but old man ignored him. He looked at Chu Bai and continued. And you, Xiao Bai, after this matter is over, you'll be going to school. Remember to preview your lessons in advance. Fine tilde. Chu Bai helplessly agreed. He never expected that he would have to go to work as soon as he arrived, when his original purpose was just to go to school. Even though he wasn't keen on going to school either, he felt it was a waste of time. He didn't forget to reassure Jackie Chan. Don't worry, Uncle Jackie. I've been with many treasure hoarders back home, I won't hold you back. What are treasure hoarders? Jackie Chan questioned. Just a bunch of stinky grave robbers. Alright, stop annoying this old man. Go do what you're supposed to do. Old man looked a bit impatient, waving his hand to shoo the two of them away. Alright, old man. I'll go upstairs and get the room ready for Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai, you must be tired after such a long ride. Wait a moment, I'll start cooking right away. With that, Jackie Chan dashed upstairs. I'll go help Uncle Jackie, old man. Chu Bai was naturally too embarrassed to let Uncle Jackie clean his room alone. Mainly, he wanted to prevent the man from being scared by the things in his backpack, so he followed him up. Hurry up and work, old man is already getting hungry. Okay, old man. Bavaria, Linderhof Palace, a group of people were walking through a long corridor. Although it was daytime and the corridor wasn't particularly dark, it was certainly far from bright. Instead, the flickering light, combined with the decaying soldier statues nearby, made the place feel exceptionally eerie and terrifying. Mad King Ludwig once invited guests to his castle, but he set countless traps. Many entered alive but never made it out. In the group, an older-looking man explained the castle's history like a narrator. So, these traps should be inactive by now, right? After all, it's been so long. A blond man in the group speculated. No, regardless of whether the traps are active or not, we must remain cautious. We can't joke with our lives. Jackie refuted the blond man's words and sternly reminded everyone present. Wait a moment. Just then, Chu Bai suddenly called for a halt and stopped in his tracks. When he stopped, Jackie stopped too, and once Jackie stopped, the entire group came to a halt. Jackie looked at Chu Bai with a puzzled expression, unsure of what he was trying to do. Chu Bai strongly agreed with Jackie's point and said seriously. Uncle Jackie, you're right. We need to maintain a cautious attitude. His eyes were fixed on the ground as he took 2 steps forward, then lightly flicked his toe forward. Bang! The moment he withdrew his foot, the walls on both sides suddenly sprang out, slamming together like a sandwich. The immense force instantly kicked up a cloud of dust. Ah! Tilda! My goodness! The people in the group cried out in alarm, their mouths hanging open in surprise. The blond man from before swallowed hard, his previous disdain for Chu Bai completely vanished. He said to Jackie. Jackie, I see now why you insisted on bringing your nephew along. Hearing this, Jackie could only give a modest smile. He patted Chu Bai on the head and praised him. Good job. How did you spot it? Chu Bai remained expressionless and didn't answer. He had experienced traps far more dangerous than these, this was just child's play to him. Seeing he wasn't getting an answer, Jackie gave an awkward laugh and signaled everyone to keep moving. As they continued, everyone became much more cautious, and they managed to pass through the area without further incident. However, the path ahead was a dead end, blocked by a wall with a massive carved portrait. Chu Bai wasn't interested in puzzle solving, or rather, he wasn't interested in anything that required too much thinking, so he turned his gaze toward Uncle Jackie. Jackie didn't hold back either. With a slight smile, he approached the wall, inserted 2 fingers into the eye sockets of a skull carving, and pressed down. Instantly, the wall emitted a rumbling hum. The wall slowly opened upward. Amidst gasps of surprise, Jackie turned his head with a proud smile, then entered first and lit a torch on the wall. King Ludwig's treasure. A blonde-haired guy in the group shouted excitedly and stepped forward, reaching for a sword that looked incredibly valuable. But the sword was placed in a very conspicuous spot, as if inviting anyone who entered to pick it up. It was obviously a trap. Chu Bai watched as the man rushed forward and grabbed the sword. He wanted to shout a warning, but it was too late. Mostly, he never expected there to be such an idiot in the group, so he hadn't taken any precautions. I'm heading out first. Good luck to you all. Realizing things were about to go south, Chu Bai took a step back and exited the chamber ahead of time. Don't touch anything. Jackie shouted a warning, but it was also too late. At that moment, the secret chamber's door rumbled and began to close slowly. Chubai was powerless to help. What could he do? He was just a kid. Everyone, get out. Jackie yelled, urging them to leave. Then, Chubai witnessed a jaw-dropping scene. Jackie flicked a spear off the ground with his foot, and while it was still spinning in the air, he delivered a roundhouse kick. The spear wedged perfectly under the closing door, buying everyone precious time to escape. Whoa tilde. Chubai raised an eyebrow in amazement. You're amazing, Uncle Jackie. He knew he couldn't pull that off. Then again, was that even something a normal human could do? Chubai didn't have time to think about it. Since he couldn't do anything else, he could only cheer for Uncle Jackie. Go, Uncle Jackie. Run faster. Although his encouragement lacked passion, the sentiment was there. The spear soon buckled under the pressure of the stone door and snapped. Seeing that Jackie was at the back and had no chance of getting out, Chubai didn't hesitate and ducked back inside. Bad day. Jackie slammed into the door, muttered a complaint, and suddenly realized someone else was beside him. Why did you come in? Jackie cried out in panic. Don't worry, Uncle Jackie. I've encountered dangerous situations like this many times. Chubai said, looking at Jackie with his arms crossed. His words were full of confidence. Really? Jackie looked astonished, but now was not the time to think about it. Because countless arrows were shooting out from hidden holes in the walls. Jackie instinctively dodged, did a backflip, and then picked up a shield from the ground to block. During this, he kept muttering, bad day, and things like that. He didn't forget Chubai, and seeing him hiding behind a pillar, Jackie was relieved. Uncle Jackie, there's a vent on the wall. Chubai shouted, pointing to an opening in the wall. The opening was large enough for an adult to fit through. Jackie didn't have time to think too much. He rushed back holding the shield and scooped Chubai into his arms. The dense rain of arrows stopped, and then green gas began to spray from the small holes. Neither of them wanted to touch gas that looked so dangerous. Jackie moved quickly, leaping into the hole after a few steps. Using the shield as a sled, they crashed through everything in their path. They smashed through the decaying walls and slid down the stone cliff outside, finally landing safely. Just then, the other members of the archaeological team arrived at the exit, and they reunited. They looked at a dizzy Jackie on the shield and a silent Chubai sitting in his arms, their faces filled with shock. Jackie was the first to speak. It seems sleds work better on snow. I thought it was pretty good. Let's do it again if we get the chance. Chubai stood up and brushed the dust off his clothes. Although his expression was calm, anyone could see the eagerness in his eyes. No, I don't want a next time. And from now on, you're going to focus on your studies. Jackie sternly refused, not forgetting to educate the child even at a time like this. Fine, there'll be a chance sooner or later. Chubai shrugged. In the end, this matter concluded with the blonde-haired guy apologizing and having his archaeological license revoked. Naturally, the shield was placed in the old Mont's antique shop. In the early morning, Chubai was awakened by a series of thump-thump sounds. Filled with dissatisfaction, he pushed open Uncle Jackie's door, saw Uncle Jackie training against a wooden dummy inside, and said irritably, Uncle Jackie, don't you know that quality sleep is very important for children? Ha ha ha, Xiao Bai, early to bed and early to rise makes the body healthy. Sleeping too long will turn a person into a fool. Uncle Jackie patted Chubai's messy hair and spoke with earnest concern. Chubai slapped Uncle Jackie's hand away and rolled his eyes at him. Please, we only got back at 2 in the morning, I haven't even had 7 hours of sleep today. Before Uncle Jackie could answer, the bell on the wall suddenly rang out. Ding ling ling, ding ling ling. This was what the old man used to summon Uncle Jackie. Whenever this bell rang, it meant the old man had something he needed Uncle Jackie's help with. Oh, it seems the old man has something for me. If you're sleepy, go back to sleep. I'll try not to disturb you. With that, Uncle Jackie waved his hand and walked out of the room. What is it, old man? Come here, give the old man a hug. Uncle Jackie naturally wouldn't refuse the old man's request. He vaulted over the hallway railing, designed to prevent people from falling, and landed steadily with a backflip. Watching Uncle Jackie's movements from behind, Chubai couldn't help but complain. There are clearly stairs, yet he insists on jumping down. Is it because he doesn't like stairs? Just as Uncle Jackie reached out his arms to hug the old man suddenly raised his hand and gave Uncle Jackie a flick on the forehead. Uncle Jackie clutched his head in pain while the old man began to scold him harshly. You didn't make coffee for the old man this morning. These old bones of mine need coffee to keep going. You want the old man to not live long, don't you? No. Then go make the coffee. Okay, old man. And another thing, the university called for you, they want you to translate some ancient texts. Okay. And another thing, I can't understand these inscriptions. The old man picked up the shield. The rooster in the center of the shield was particularly eye-catching. Xiao Bai, can you understand this? The old man's gaze shifted to Chu Bai, who was watching the scene from upstairs. Chu Bai shook his head. These inscriptions are too ancient for me to recognize, but I've seen similar writing in the tomb of the Golden Rooster King. Well, it seems I'll have to go to the back of the shop and flip through my notebooks. Writing from the era of the Golden Rooster King. That truly was a long time ago. Then I'll watch the shop, old man. Uncle Jackie volunteered, but the old man wasn't finished yet. And another thing. Uncle Jackie was a bit helpless but could only patiently listen to the old man's words. This is Jade Chan, your niece. She's moving in to live with you for a year, understand? Okay. Uncle Jackie replied subconsciously while looking at the little girl with the grumpy face in front of him. However, a moment later he realized something was wrong and let out a strange cry. Tilda, I have a niece. She is the daughter of your cousin Jade's mother. Jade Chan has been behaving poorly at school and her grades aren't great, so your cousin thought it would be better for her to come to America and live with you for a year. Why didn't anyone notify me in advance? And old man, I can't take care of two children. Uncle Jackie's face was full of refusal, but the old man wouldn't indulge him. Xiaobai doesn't need you to take care of him, he's very sensible. Now, get to know each other, I'm going to get busy. It was clear that having two children in the shop at once made the old man quite happy. Uncle Jackie wanted to say more, but the old man had already opened the back door and walked inside. Uncle Jackie could only sigh helplessly. Looking at the little girl before him, he forced an awkward smile, waved politely, and gave a friendly greeting. This was different from his first meeting with Chu Bai. That time he had been prepared, and preparation always reduces psychological pressure. But this time, it was far too sudden. Hi, hello. I'm Uncle Jackie. Seeing the girl in front of him give no reaction, only staring at him with a grumpy face, Uncle Jackie had no choice but to cast a pleading look toward Chu Bai watching from upstairs. Chu Bai looked at Uncle Jackie's expression and sighed helplessly. Uncle Jackie, I think you need this. As Chu Bai spoke, he tossed a lollipop he had intended to eat after waking up to Uncle Jackie. He was still a bit sleepy, but he wanted to leave a good impression on his new companion, so he was enduring the drowsiness. However, he still let out a heavy yawn due to exhaustion, lazily leaning his entire weight against the railing, looking completely drained of energy. When Uncle Jackie saw that Chu Bai had thrown down a lollipop, he handed it to Jade Chan with a smile, only to receive a roll of the eyes from her in return. I'm not a child. Jade Chan said dissatisfiedly, but she still snatched the lollipop, tore open the wrapper, and stuffed it into her mouth. That was my favorite lollipop, Uncle Jackie. Remember to pay me back. From upstairs, Chu Bai emphasized the importance of that lollipop to him. All right. Just as Uncle Jackie agreed, the doorbell rang immediately after. In the next moment, Uncle Jackie entered shopkeeper mode. Welcome to the Old Mont's antique shop, is there anything I can help you with? 3 guests entered, and they didn't look like good people. Chubai sensed the hostility coming from them and frowned slightly. He softly called out to Jade Chan from upstairs, wanting her to come up. Jade Chan looked up at Chubai in confusion. Chubai didn't say anything extra, merely pointing his index finger toward the stairs, and Jade Chan understood instantly. Being new here, Jade Chan didn't want to affect Uncle Jackie's business, so she silently walked toward the stairs. Walking up to Chubai, she coolly asked her question. Hey, what's your name? Chubai. Chubai replied briefly. He wasn't in the mood to chat with the kid beside him right now because the guests below looked like they had ill intentions. Jade Chan, however, completely failed to notice the tense atmosphere and extended her hand toward Chubai. Hi, I'm Jade Chan. Nice to meet you. You can just call me Jade from now on. Faced with the other's friend request, Chubai was somewhat surprised. He had thought she was the type who was difficult to get along with, but he didn't expect her to be surprisingly proactive. Shaking Jade Chan's hand, he accepted her friend request and nodded slightly. You too, you can just call me Xiaobai. Offering another candy, intimacy +1. The people below exchanged some words, and then Chubai saw the visitors intentionally knock over an expensive-looking vase next to them. Fortunately, Uncle Jackie was more skilled. With a few quick moves, he set the vases back in place and even sat down handsomely in a grand armchair, crossing his legs and looking triumphantly at the newcomers. Wow tilde. Seeing this from upstairs, Jade Chan couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Looking at Chubai and pointing at Uncle Jackie below, she said with a face full of pride. Alright, I admit he's my Uncle Jackie. Chubai was somewhat speechless. This speed of changing her mind was faster than flipping a page in a book. Kids these days are really something else. He had originally intended to go down and help, but seeing Uncle Jackie's relaxed manner, he dropped the idea. Why? Because he was still sleepy. After letting out another heavy yawn, he heard the threat from that group. You'd better hurry up and retrieve that shield from the university. It'll be better for your whole family, Uncle Jackie. After finishing their harsh words, the group fled the place in a panic, which made Chubai unable to stop himself from chuckling. Clearly unable to beat Uncle Jackie, yet still daring to leave threats, in Chubai's eyes, such behavior was brainless. Weren't they afraid Uncle Jackie would chase them out and knock them all flat? Jade Chan made funny faces at them from upstairs. It seemed she also had a terrible impression of these people. At the same time, the old man came out from the back and asked, Did the customers buy anything? No. Uncle Jackie answered curtly, his eyes fixed on the three men as they left. How can you be so bad at doing business? The old man was about to scold him, but Uncle Jackie interrupted him. Watch over Jade Chan and Xiao Bai, and hide the shield well. Such a big shield, where am I supposed to hide it? The old man was a bit troubled, then stroked his chin and murmured. Where did I put it? I think Uncle Jackie needs help. Huh. Chubai never expected this girl he just met to be so brave, daring to rush out and help even though she knew the others were bad people. But those few seconds of dazing caused him to miss the best time to stop Jade. She had already dashed down the stairs in a few steps and was sprinting out of the shop. What is she going to do? Old man looked at Chubai, his face full of questions. Sigh, old man, you wait here. Chubai originally wanted to chase after her, but thinking that it wasn't particularly safe for old man to be here alone, he sighed, returned to the second floor in a few steps, went back to his room, and started rummaging around. Why does no one like using the stairs? Old man felt a bit helpless. Old man, take this. In a frantic rush, Chubai threw a canister to old man. It was a pure white canister that could be easily gripped with one hand, with no text labeling its use. If any bad guys come in, use this to spray them. What is this? Old man asked. Pepper spray. What? Old man hates peppers. Mentioning peppers always reminds me of when I was young. However, Chubai could no longer hear old man's stories of the past. He had already run out of the old man's antique shop. Oh, how annoying. Old man shut his mouth resentfully. Following the tracks left by the other party along the way, Chubai quickly found Jade. It was in a park. Only Jade was there, along with a car driving further and further away. Hey, Jade, where's Uncle Jackie? Chubai stepped forward and asked. Ah, Uncle Jackie was taken away by the people in that car. Jade pointed at the vehicle ahead, looking a bit panicked. We have to go save Uncle Jackie. Hearing Jade's words, Chubai's expression immediately became solemn. He didn't expect to encounter such a thing after only being here for a few days, and he made a prompt decision. Don't worry, Jade. This isn't something you can get involved in. Go back to the antique shop first and explain the situation to old man. I'll handle the rest. As Chubai spoke, he immediately gave chase toward the car. Fortunately, the car wasn't going very fast. Chubai took shortcuts across the rooftops of tall buildings and managed to barely keep up. Of course, his only wrong decision this time was not personally watching Jade return to the antique shop. Go back. I don't want to. You guys are going to need me. A smile curled at the corner of Jade's mouth as she ran in another direction. Naturally, it was not the direction of the old Mont's antique shop. Less than half an hour later, Chubai looked at the phone booth in front of him and fell into silence. How do I activate this machine? He had clearly seen Uncle Jackie press a few buttons here before suddenly dropping down from inside the phone booth. Then the remaining few men in black pressed a few buttons here and walked down through a side passage. Hey! Suddenly, Chubai heard someone tapping on the glass outside the phone booth. After turning to see who it was, even the usually calm him wanted to curse. Jade, how did you follow me here? By hitching a ride. It's very simple, you just have to act a little pitiful. Fine, we'll talk about these issues later. Chubai held his forehead, feeling a bit of a headache. How could this little girl be so reckless? It's very dangerous here. Look, there's a burger shop over there. Go there and wait for me to come back. Chubai took out a $10 bill from his pocket, stuffed it into Jade's arms, and spoke in a tone used for coaxing children. You're clearly a kid too. Jade was a bit annoyed, but she still firmly accepted Chubai's $10. For Jade, this was considered a large sum of money. Listen, don't think you can buy me off with money. Jade's words carried a hint of anger as she spoke while putting the money into her pocket. This actually left Chubai at a loss for words. This girl really has thick skin. Forget it, I don't have time to argue with you. If you're not afraid of dying, then follow me. Chubai waved his hand, no longer wanting to pay attention to the person in front of him. Just as he wanted to go back into the phone booth to continue his research, he heard Jade ask. Are you running into some trouble? Chubai didn't hide anything and openly recounted the scene he had just witnessed to Jade. Jade pondered. Jade had an epiphany. What do you think Uncle Jackie would do if he entered a phone booth? He would call the police. Excitedly, Jade pressed 911 before Chubai could even react. No. Jade, that's too reckless. Chubai wanted to stop her, but he had been thinking and completely failed to notice Jade's movements. So, Jade successfully completed it all. Peesh. The elevator started. Ah. Accompanied by Jade's screams and the sensation of weightlessness, Chubai crossed his arms, with only one thought in his mind. This fool brat. The two of them thus dramatically and successfully entered Section 13, which claimed to be the safest place in the world, and then ended up face to face with an agent, staring blankly at each other. The agent walking normally inside Section 13 saw two children suddenly appear. His brain stalled for a second before he immediately reacted, his hand instinctively reaching for the pistol at his waist as he questioned. Hey, you two kids, how did you get in here? Jade's head was still foggy, and she replied subconsciously. Probably by taking the elevator. Chubai cursed his bad luck, grabbed Jade's hand, picked a random direction, and started running for his life. Are you kidding? This was the villain's base. If he and Jade were caught, who knew what kind of torture they would face? So, even though he didn't sense any malice at the first moment, he still chose to flee. Stop! Someone come and catch those two kids. Following the shout of that man in a suit, more and more people joined in the pursuit of them. However, Jade's strength and courage actually made Chu Bai see her in a new light. A normal child would have been scared witless and unable to move by now, unlike Jade who was running and jumping, and even taking the chance to strike back at them. But it was still too dangerous here. He decided to hide Jade first and come back for her once he found an exit. At least, even if he failed, Jade would have a slim chance of being rescued. After temporarily shaking those people off, Chu Bai hid Jade inside a ventilation duct while he himself drew the attention of the agents. Hiding inside the ventilation duct, Jade watched the pairs of legs constantly passing in front of her. She covered her mouth, not daring to make a single sound. A while later, once it was completely quiet outside, Jade quietly crawled out from the ventilation duct. She knew she couldn't just stay here and wait for someone else to rescue her. She needed to do something. Even if she failed and got caught, it would be 100 times better than doing nothing at all. Stop. Don't run. Move it up ahead. Get out of the way. At this moment, a commotion was occurring in the core area of Section 13, a place resembling an underground warehouse. Over a dozen people were chasing a child, running wildly and turning the place upside down. What's going on? Standing on the second floor, Black frowned as he witnessed the scene. Jackie Chan also squinted down, spotting a small figure darting behind rows of precision instruments. It couldn't be such a coincidence, could it? Jackie Chan forced a smile, trying to reassure himself. What coincidence? Black's brow furrowed. He was angry that such chaos had broken out on the very first day his good friend came to visit his organization. Nothing, I just have a feeling that intruder might be my nephew. Jackie Chan gave a tactical head scratch. A moment later, a voice from that direction confirmed Jackie Chan's suspicion. Hey, Uncle Jackie, looks like you're doing okay. Chu Bai leapt up, using protrusions on the wall to jump directly to the second floor, landing right in front of where Uncle Jackie was. What? Black was shocked, his hand instinctively reaching for the pistol at his waist. No, no, no. Black, he's one of us. Jackie Chan hurriedly stepped forward to stop him. Oh, alright. Black raised an eyebrow. Seeing that Jackie Chan didn't seem to be lying, he moved his right hand away from his waist. Seeing this, Jackie Chan also breathed a sigh of relief. He quickly turned around, looked at the small figure before him, and crouched down. How did you end up here? Xiao Bai. Don't you know how dangerous this is? I came to rescue you, Uncle Jackie. Chu Bai said, looking around before continuing. Though, it looks like you don't actually need rescuing. It seemed Uncle Jackie was getting along quite well with this bald guy. Could it be that everyone here is a good person? No wonder he only felt a faint trace of malice in this place. Well, I'm sorry for worrying you. This is my old friend, Black. Jackie Chan pointed his thumb at the tall figure behind him. Black was truly tall. A towering man, as expected of the head of the agents. Hello, I'm Black. Nice to meet you. I didn't realize Jackie Chan had a nephew. My name is Chu Bai. You can just call me Xiao Bai. The two introduced themselves, marking their formal acquaintance. How did you get in here? Black asked curiously. I jumped up. Chu Bai answered matter-of-factly. After all, he really had jumped from the first floor to the second. Just then, another unexpected event occurred. The roar of a motorcycle echoed from the far end of the corridor, accompanied by a youthful, energetic shout. Wahoo! Uncle Jackie, I'm here to save you. Chu Bai saw Jade riding a motorcycle, zooming past him like a bolt of lightning. She then performed a cool drift at the end of the corridor and doubled back. God knows how Jade, who was only tall enough to stand on the motorcycle's floorboard, managed such a difficult maneuver. And where on earth did she get a motorcycle from? And who is that? Black felt exhausted. This was the first time such chaos had occurred in Section 13 since its establishment. That is my niece. Jackie Chan said, scratching his head sheepishly. Well, your kids are certainly lively. But how did she get in? And while riding a Section 13 vehicle, no less. Chu Bai shrugged and gave Black a slight bow. Sorry, my companion has caused you some trouble. At least she has a strong sense of safety, she's wearing a helmet, isn't she? Jackie Chan said this, trying to lighten the mood. This left both Chu Bai and Black speechless. Chu Bai timed it perfectly, jumping onto the bike the moment Jade swung back. Oh, Uncle Jackie isn't on yet. Let's do another lap. Jade said, trying to turn around, but she was stopped by Chu Bai. Sorry, you probably won't get the chance. Chu Bai swiftly pulled the key, and the motorcycle engine died instantly. No. What are you doing? Jade cried out, stopping the bike and looking at Chu Bai with dissatisfaction. Look what you've done. We clearly had a chance to escape. Calm down, Jade. They aren't enemies. Chu Bai explained. Jade tilted her head, looking at Jackie Chan and Black walking over side by side, and asked skeptically. You're saying these people who knocked Uncle Jackie out and brought him to this secret underground base are on our side? Ah, yes, that's right. Chu Bai actually felt their behavior didn't seem like that of good people either, but facts spoke louder than words. At least Uncle Jackie showed no signs of being tied up or mistreated, and he was chatting and laughing with the top official here. Jade questioned again. You're saying that crowd of men in black chasing us everywhere are on our side? Yes, that's right. They are. This time, Uncle Jackie answered first. Wow, America is so cool. Jade suddenly became inexplicably excited. So, how did they bypass the security system to get in here? Black asked the people around him, but they all fell silent. We took the stairs. Jade's answer was much the same as Chu Bai's. Well, it looks like Section 13's defense system needs to be strengthened. Black was speechless. Although not much had happened today, it had already left him feeling exhausted. Where did you get that bike? Do you have any idea how dangerous that was? You could have been hurt. Jackie Chan finally remembered his role as a guardian, approaching Jade and lecturing her. Uncle Jackie. Honestly, am I brave or what? Jade said quite proudly. She wanted to be praised by Uncle Jackie. Yes, you are very brave, but you also need to have the brains to judge what you can't do. Being brave but reckless is a very foolish thing, do you understand? I think Jade doesn't understand what you mean, Uncle Jackie. Chu Bai said from the side. Is that so? Jackie asked Jade. Ah, yes. Jade nodded awkwardly. Jackie palmed his forehead. He was already feeling the hardship of taking care of children. Suddenly, the phone rang. Jackie took out his phone in confusion and answered it. Hello. Uncle. I can't say. They're with me. Some incantations. The shield is important, of course, Uncle. Do you know, Uncle, everyone I met today wanted this shield. Uncle. 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 What cream puffs? What's happening on your end? Okay, I got it. I'll bring it over, and I won't tell anyone else. Seeing Jackie hang up with a grim expression, Black stepped forward, wanting to ask what had happened. But before he could speak, Jackie suddenly said, Old friend, can you help me look after the two of them? As he spoke, he ran toward the elevator nearby. Black noticed Jackie's strange behavior and asked worriedly. Where are you going? Please, don't ask anything. Jackie's voice carried a hint of anger as he closed the elevator doors. Seeing this, Black felt quite helpless. He had no choice but to turn around and say, All right, kids. His words stopped abruptly because, at that moment, there wasn't a soul behind him. Jade was right behind Chu Bai, following him closely. Jade, I think you'd better listen to Uncle Jackie and stay there. Chu Bai was also quite helpless seeing Jade following him. He didn't know why this little girl loved to dive into danger wherever it was. He wanted to go see what exactly had happened. From Uncle Jackie's tone just now, He could tell something must have happened to Uncle. But letting Jade get involved in this kind of thing was too dangerous. She wasn't like him. Although she was a bit clever, she was essentially just a child with no ability to protect herself. But Jade convinced Chubai with a single sentence. Are you sure you won't let me go? I know where they park their cars, and there's an elevator leading to the surface. Plus, it's unguarded tilde. After all, no one would imagine someone stealing a car inside Section 13, so besides when missions were being carried out, almost no one visited, and the car keys were even left in the vehicles. They could drive there with complete peace of mind. Jade had completely convinced Chubai. To be honest, even if he got out, without a means of transportation, it would be for nothing. Moreover, he had already given the only $10 in his pocket to Jade. He couldn't exactly act pitiful to get by like she did, could he? Chubai sighed and nodded, agreeing to let Jade follow. However, where Jade couldn't see, a sharp edge appeared in his eyes, and a ruthlessness that didn't belong to a youth appeared on his face. Although he was lazy, lacked ambition, and was content with the status quo, Uncle was one of his few relatives in this world. If anything happened to him, he swore he would throw everyone involved in this matter into the sea to feed the fish. The two of them soon reached the garage. Just as Jade had said, it was like their own backyard. Unfortunately, Chubai wasn't tall enough, so driving these cars felt a bit beyond his reach. But Jade's height was just right. Although getting on was a bit difficult, she could barely ride. So, the two little brats rode a motorcycle that even adults might not be able to ride without training, setting off just like that. Time went back to when Uncle called Jackie. Just as both sides were arguing incessantly over the importance of the shield, Uncle suddenly saw a shadow loom over him. Looking up, it was a big fat man over 3 meters tall, with a fierce expression, clearly an unwelcome guest. Give me the shield, Toru said. Iya tilde. Uncle isn't afraid of you. Uncle knew the visitor meant no good. He stood up abruptly, grabbed the spray on the table, and sprayed it at Toru's face. However, what came out didn't seem to be pepper spray, but white foam. Toru was also startled and instinctively used his hand to block it. But when he found it didn't harm him at all and even smelled a bit sweet, he instinctively took a taste. Immediately, his eyes lit up. Oh, it's cream. It's mine. Oh, I'm doomed. Uncle successfully gave up resisting. Fortunately, he had hidden the shield in advance, so at least this big fat man wouldn't find it. On the other side, Chubai deeply regretted getting on Jade's bike. Since it was night and the streets were empty, Jade rode extremely wildly, making Chubai's heart jump in fear. He held onto Jade's waist tightly and shouted a reminder. Jade, slow down. This is too dangerous. No, there isn't even a single car on the road. It's very safe. Besides, we need to go rescue Uncle as soon as possible, don't we? Jade's voice was filled with excitement. Obviously, she was completely hooked on the process of speeding. Chubai had nothing to say. He thought he was crazy to have allowed Jade to ride the motorcycle. But his own height wasn't enough. Between the two of them, only Jade had the ability to ride a motorcycle. This feeling of helplessness was like that of an incompetent husband. Chubai remembered the way to Old Mont's antique shop. He had intentionally memorized it on the way to Section 13, so they wouldn't get lost. The only strange thing was that they had been speeding for so long, and not a single traffic cop had come to stop them. Don't the traffic cops here work night shifts? Under Jade's frantic driving, they soon arrived at the Old Mont's antique shop. Since Uncle Jackie was taking a taxi, he naturally wasn't as fast as they were. Quick, let's hide. We'll give Uncle Jackie a surprise when he arrives. Jade said excitedly, looking around for a place to hide. Chubai didn't bother with her and looked around the antique shop. He didn't find anything, which made him a bit puzzled. What kind of person could leave Uncle completely defenseless? The only mess in the shop was Uncle's overturned chair. That shouldn't be right. What shouldn't be right? Jade leaned in and asked curiously. I gave Uncle a defensive weapon before I left. With Uncle's skills, there shouldn't be any signs of a struggle in the shop. Chu Bai explained while observing his surroundings, trying to reconstruct the scene. It must be an opponent Uncle knew he couldn't beat at a glance. Fortunately, the other party probably didn't intend to harm Uncle. Clatter. A loud crash interrupted Chu Bai's thoughts. Turning around, he saw Jade buried under a pile of books, vases, and other clutter, looking quite disheveled. But she still pretended to be nonchalant, propping her head up with her elbow and saying with a silly grin. He, looks like these things need some cleaning. Chu Bai facepalmed, somewhat speechless. What are you doing? Looking for the shield. They must have kidnapped Uncle because they couldn't find the shield. If we find it before Uncle Jackie does, I'm sure he'll be impressed with us. I think Uncle Jackie will just say, no. Jade. It's too dangerous. Chu Bai shrugged, mimicking Jackie Chan's tone. So, did you find it? Of course. Look at this. The corners of Jade's mouth curled up as she tapped the object she was sitting on with her knuckles. Two crisp, thump thump, sounds rang out. Jackie Chan was in a very bad mood because his most beloved uncle was currently in mortal danger. Therefore, he had been urging the driver to go faster the whole way. Even though the driver said he was already at full speed, Jackie didn't believe him because a motorcycle had just zoomed past them, leaving them several streets behind. If he didn't know how to drive, he would have snatched the steering wheel from the driver long ago. Finally, arriving at the old Mont's antique shop, he impatiently got out of the car and ran back inside. Where would Uncle hide the shield? Oh my God! Why is it such a mess in here? As he spoke, he began searching place by place until he picked up a folding door leaning against the wall. The two figures appearing behind the door startled him into taking several steps back. Hi! Seeing she was discovered, Jade could only wave awkwardly at Jackie Chan. Jade. Xiao Bai. Seeing it was his niece and nephew, Jackie Chan patted his chest, let out a long sigh of relief, and asked in surprise. How did you? Before Jackie could finish, Jade beat him to the punch. Still took the stairs. Fine. Now you two take the stairs and go back to your rooms. Jackie Chan pointed to the rooms upstairs and said sternly. It seems Jade doesn't have a room yet. Chu Bai murmured softly. Let me help you. After all, Uncle is my family too, Jade pleaded. Jade pleaded. Jackie also knew now wasn't the time to waste, so he said offhandedly. Fine, then help me find the shield. The shield is right here. Jade said, pulling out the golden shield from behind Chu Bai with a triumphant expression. So, I'm not just all brawn and no brains, right? When Jackie saw the shield, the surprise on his face was fleeting. He snatched the shield, patted Jade's head, and said, Thank you, Jade, but now you should go back to your room and rest. By the way, Xiao Bai, come with me. I might need your help. Chu Bai nodded in agreement, that was his plan all along. But upon hearing this, Jade cried out in dissatisfaction. What? That's not fair. In the end, all three of them went to rescue Uncle together. Jackie couldn't win against Jade's stubbornness, she was a girl who both held grudges and was incredibly headstrong. However, he still made her promise to wait for them obediently in a safe place. Jade readily agreed. Having spent time with Jade, Chu Bai dismissed her promise. In just one day, he had completely seen through Jade's personality, lively, active, and prone to trouble. No wonder her mother handed her over to Uncle Jackie for discipline, most people really couldn't handle her. The exchange location was the rooftop terrace of a skyscraper in downtown San Francisco, and the organization that kidnapped Uncle was the Dark Hand. It seemed to be a fairly famous criminal organization, but Chu Bai hadn't heard of it. Perhaps the Dark Hand didn't dare stretch its reach toward the mysterious Great Eastern nation yet. Getting out of the taxi, the three of them stood at the base of the skyscraper, looking up at it as it pierced the clouds. All right, remember the plan we discussed. I'll handle the exchange, Xiao Bai will take the chance to rescue Uncle, and as for Jade, stay put and don't move. Boy Scouts honor. Jade gave a very non-standard Boy Scout salute. Let's just rescue Uncle quickly and go back to sleep. I'm dying of exhaustion. Chu Bai yawned heavily, staring at the top of the skyscraper with dead fish eyes. Uncle was up there, and there was a very unpleasant aura. It was the first time he had felt such a bone-chilling coldness. This feeling didn't mean it was just dangerous up there, but that something incredibly evil existed there. It looked like a tough battle was ahead. He casually took 2 pieces of candy from his pocket, tossed one to Jade, and unwrapped the other to put in his mouth as a pre-battle supplement. Once Uncle Jackie and Chu Bai were out of sight, Jade curled her lip and said nonchalantly, "Whatever, I'm not a Boy Scout anyway." Chu Bai reached the rooftop via the stairs 1 step ahead of Uncle Jackie. He stealthily opened the terrace door just a crack. Whoa, that's one big fat guy. No wonder Uncle didn't even want to fight back. Seeing the scene on the terrace, Chu Bai instinctively remarked. But his brow was furrowed, and his right hand gripped the dagger at his waist, ready for combat at any moment. Because he could see that there seemed to be something in the shadows, lots of things. Hasn't Uncle Jackie come up yet? Suddenly, a crisp voice sounded behind Chu Bai. No, he's waiting to take the elevator up in a bit. Chu Bai wasn't surprised at all, only giving Jade a faint glance behind him. Why aren't you surprised at all? Jade asked in confusion. I'd be more surprised if you didn't come, Chu Bai said calmly. Listen, Jade, when the fight starts later, you take Uncle and leave. Listen, Jade, when the fight starts later, you take Uncle and leave. Is that fat guy really that powerful? Uncle Jackie can't handle him alone. Jade was puzzled because, in her eyes, Uncle Jackie was a very, very powerful martial artist. There was nothing he couldn't win against. It's not just him. You mean there's an ambush nearby? You could say that. Night. Atop a skyscraper in downtown San Francisco, 2 figures faced off. Toru pressed one hand onto Uncle's shoulder and reached out toward Jackie Chan with the other. Give me the shield. What does your boss want with a shield? Jackie Chan tried to fish for information, but his opponent clearly wasn't stupid. Don't ask so many questions. It's none of your business. As the two spoke, Jackie caught a glimpse of 2 little ones peeking through a gap in the door out of the corner of his eye. Though he was frustrated that Jade hadn't behaved and listened, he couldn't say much in this situation. The 3 of them exchanged looks, instantly understanding each other's thoughts. Jade gave Jackie a thumbs up, signaling her understanding. Seeing this, Jackie turned to Toru and spoke. Fine, you want the shield. Catch. With that, he threw the shield in his hand with great force. Toru instinctively raised both hands to catch it, but the shield flew very high. Even with his reach, he couldn't grab it at all. He watched helplessly as the shield completed a mid-air arc and returned straight to Jackie Chan's hands. Realizing he had been played by Jackie, Toru roared in anger, raising a fist as if to strike the uncle beside him. You fool! Say goodbye to your uncle. But at that moment, he discovered to his shock that the uncle who had been right beside him was already nowhere to be found. Jade had long since taken Uncle's hand and run toward the emergency exit. Why are we taking the stairs? Chu Bai, who was bringing up the rear, watched Jade pull Uncle toward the stairs. He scratched his head and asked in confusion. Naturally, no one answered him, as Jade had already pulled Uncle far away. Seeing that Uncle had successfully escaped, the weight on Jackie Chan's heart finally lifted. Looking at Toru's impotent rage, he smiled and said to him, I think I run faster than you. Having said that, he moved quickly to leave the area. But just then, dozens of masked ninjas with crimson pupils appeared all around him. By the time Uncle Jackie realized what was happening, he had been surrounded by these ninjas who had appeared out of nowhere. Where did all these guys come from? Uncle Jackie looked around, his face showing astonishment. Knowing this fight was inevitable, he raised his shield and his fists. Bring it on. The chaotic battle was about to erupt. Seeing this, Toru unhurriedly walked toward the elevator by the emergency exit. Hey, big guy. This way's closed. Chubai blocked his path. Even though the big guy in front of him was taller than he and Jade combined, he showed no fear. Where did this brat come from? Get lost. Toru reached out to shove Chubai aside, but Chubai dodged easily. With a light leap backward, Chubai reached behind him and pulled out a gleaming dagger. Narrowing his eyes at the large man, he threatened. Take one more step, and I can't guarantee you won't lose a few parts. What? Xiao Bai. Why are you carrying something like that? That's too dangerous for a child. Jackie Chan, who was keeping an eye on the situation from the side, cried out in shock when he saw what was in Chubai's hand. One had to admit he was worthy of the name Uncle Jackie. Even while fighting the Shotokan, he didn't forget to monitor Chubai's situation. Uncle Jackie, worry about your own side first. Chubai ignored him, settling into a stance as he waited for Toru to attack. At that moment, a sudden change occurred. Several Shotokan soldiers suddenly emerged from Chubai's shadow and delivered a side whip kick to him. Fortunately, Chubai reacted in time, blocking the strike with his arms. Though he wasn't seriously hurt, he was kicked several meters back. With the assistance of the Shotokan soldiers, Toru easily boarded the elevator. Facing the 5 ninjas before him, Chubai found it wouldn't be easy to break through their defense for the time being. It seemed the evil aura he had felt downstairs earlier was radiating from them. What on earth were they? While using his dagger to deflect incoming shuriken, Chubai pondered the origin of these ninjas. But after thinking for a long time without a clue, he simply shook the stray thoughts from his head and focused on the battle at hand. The ninjas coordinated with remarkable synergy, and combined with their ability to merge into shadows, they caused Chubai no small amount of trouble. However, once he became familiar with their attack rhythm, he suddenly exerted force to break through, slashing his dagger fiercely at the throat of one of the ninjas. The sensation of the hit was strange, like a sharp blade slicing through the fabric of clothes, with a slight resistance. Pushing aside his inner confusion, he quickly disengaged from the ninjas' encirclement. When he looked back, he was surprised to find that the ninja whose throat he had slit hadn't bled to death, but had instead turned into black smoke and dissipated into the air. Before he could think further, a sharp whistling sound echoed by Chubai's ear. He instinctively tilted his head to dodge, and a shuriken gleaming with cold light flew past his face. A slight stinging sensation came from his cheek. He knew that was the feeling of skin being cut. It was a minor scratch, yet it stirred a surge of ferocity in his heart. Reversing his grip on the dagger, his cold gaze swept over the 4 ninjas surrounding him again as he said disdainfully. 5 of you couldn't beat me, let alone 4. While the battle on the roof was in full swing, Jade reached the ground floor with Uncle. When Jackie Chan saw them, he threw the shield down, and Jade caught it successfully. However, the good times didn't last. Toru arrived on the scene a moment later and confiscated the shield on the spot. After all, he took the elevator, so he was naturally very fast. Once the shield was in hand, the Shotokan ninjas on the roof all merged into the darkness simultaneously, as if they had never appeared at all. Chubai put away his dagger and wiped the blood from his cheek. After letting out a long breath, he stepped forward to ask about Uncle Jackie's condition. Uncle Jackie, are you okay? I'm fine, but they took the shield. Jackie Chan watched the departing Toru below, his brow furrowed. Just then, the roar of a helicopter sounded, and a bright spotlight from the aircraft shone precisely on Chubai and Jackie Chan. Jackie, I'm just here to gather information. Black's familiar voice came through the helicopter's loudspeaker. Also, one of our Section 13 cars has been stolen. Hearing this question, Jackie Chan cast his gaze toward Chubai. Seeing this, Chubai shrugged and said with an air of innocence. In an underground garage where cars have keys in them and no one is watching, it's normal for a car or two to go missing, right? Jackie Chan was left speechless. Downstairs, the group met up, and Jackie Chan gave Black a general account of what had happened. Black frowned and explained. Jackie, I didn't want to get your family involved in this. It's not your fault. It's the dark hand that wants that shield. Jackie Chan was quite reasonable and had no intention of blaming Black. However, upon hearing Jackie's words, Uncle immediately gave him a flick on the forehead. Under Jackie Chan's bewildered gaze, Uncle said angrily, I told you before that the shield isn't important. The talismanic incantation inside the shield is what's truly important. Only the talismanic incantation can produce magic. Speaking of magic, Uncle became all mysterious and eccentric again. However, Black clearly didn't believe in the existence of magic. He comforted them. Don't worry, we'll recover the shield from the dark hand and then study its mysteries. No need. Just then, Jade suddenly spoke up. As everyone turned their eyes toward her, she pulled a familiar rooster out of her pocket. Wasn't I quite far-sighted? She said proudly. Chubai was shocked. JPG. Great job, Jade. This was the first time Uncle Jackie had praised Jade. At this moment, he had to acknowledge Jade's cleverness, just as he had acknowledged Chubai's strength after seeing him face 5 powerful ninjas alone and manage to take one down. Uncle took the talismanic incantation and pointed at it, saying, One more thing. See the pattern on here. This is the rooster from the 12 Chinese zodiac animals, so I think there must be 11 other zodiac signs. Black looked thoughtful upon hearing this and then extended an invitation to Jackie Chan. The dark hand is likely searching for their whereabouts as well. Interested in joining us? Of course. Before Jackie Chan could even open his mouth, Jade beat him to the response. Chubai inconspicuously tugged on the hem of Jade's shirt, signaling her to say less. However, unexpectedly, Jackie Chan didn't say anything to the contrary and instead agreed. After all, as an archaeologist, these things certainly piqued his interest. On the other side, Uncle was lecturing Chubai. Xiao Bai, did you want me to choke my attackers to death with cream? Chubai was dazed for a moment, but he quickly realized what had happened. What he had given Uncle probably wasn't pepper spray at all, but his favorite whipped cream spray. I couldn't even bring myself to eat much of that stuff. Heartbreak. Chinese food. But I just got to America. Inside a Chinese restaurant in San Francisco, Jade looked at the food in front of her with a frown and asked Jackie. Can I try Mexican food? I want something sweet. Uncle Jackie, you still haven't given me back the lollipop from this morning. Chubai added listlessly from the side. Without a sugar boost after the battle, he felt completely drained and was dying for a nap. Jade looked at Chubai's lethargic state and asked. Do you really like candy that much? Of course. Sugar is my best source of energy replenishment. Uncle and Jackie ignored the two of them, discussing the use of the talismanic incantation while they ate. Jackie, there is immense energy within the rooster talisman. What is it for? Jade chimed in, leaning over Chubai to pick up the talismanic incantation and examine it closely. Jackie snatched the talismanic incantation back and lectured her. Jade, be polite. Little Bai, did you see anything about talismanic incantations in the ancient texts back home? Uncle asked Chubai. Chubai didn't hesitate and explained to the others. Legend says there are 12 talismanic incantations in total, each corresponding to one of China's 12 Chinese zodiac animals. Every talismanic incantation possesses a different magical power. What kind of magical powers? Jade leaned in close to Chubai, asking curiously. Chubai had no strength left and could only let Jade lean on him. Fortunately, Jackie quickly pulled Jade back, which saved Chubai from having to use his limited remaining strength to steady himself. As for what powers they have, we'd need to find the talismanic incantations and decipher them. I don't know what each of their specific magic powers are. Chubai explained patiently. Awesome. I can't wait for the adventures ahead. Jade stood up and cheered. No, Jade. Your main purpose for being here is to go to school. And that goes for little Bai, too. X2. In this regard, Chubai and Jade were quite similar, neither of them liked school. Uncle followed up on Chu Bai's words. These talismanic incantations are scattered all over the world. If one of them falls into the wrong hands, then Uncle Jackie will go, hiya. Hiya. Jade cut in, throwing punches in the air before slamming her fist onto the table. Thud. The loud noise not only sent the teapot and cups on the table wobbling but also startled a couple on a date nearby. Seeing this, Jade gave an awkward smile. After apologizing to the couple, Jade continued asking, Uncle Jackie, when are you going to teach me Kung Fu? We'll talk about it later. Jackie naturally didn't want such a young child learning about fighting, so he brushed her off. Jade knew Uncle Jackie was reluctant to teach her, so she crossed her arms and pouted. Then, as if remembering something, her eyes lit up as she turned to Chu Bai. Oh, right. Little Bai, do you know Kung Fu? You seemed really impressive. Of course not. Chu Bai shook his head. He actually did, but he just hated trouble. Hearing his answer, Jade's face fell instantly, and she sighed, propping her head up with her hands. Fine. Jackie picked up the talismanic incantation from the table and examined it closely, trying to find some clue, but he saw nothing. He asked, do you guys really believe in this legend? Snap. Uncle's chopsticks rapped Jackie on the head. Following a cry of pain, Uncle said displeased ly. That is my answer. Jackie rubbed his head and was about to say something when Jade's voice caught his attention. Uncle Jackie, look. I know Kung Fu now. Jade was standing in the middle of the aisle, holding an improper horse stance. When did she get over there? Chu Bai was full of questions. He only saw Jade flailing her arms in messy wild swings, shouting, Hi-ya. Ha-ya. Jade, don't play around there. Jackie hurried forward to stop her. Chu Bai noticed a waiter carrying food behind Jade and quickly shouted a warning. Jade, watch out behind you. Unfortunately, it was too late. Both he and Uncle Jackie were a step behind. Jade threw a kick that landed right on the tray the waiter was carrying. In an instant, the tray flew out of his hands. One bowl of noodles splashed onto the waiter, while the other flew straight toward Uncle. Chu Bai was quick. He intercepted the bowl just before it hit Uncle's head, spun to dissipate the momentum, and placed the bowl steadily on the table. Whoa! Little Bai. And you said you didn't know martial arts? Jade shouted in amazement. Luckily Chu Bai was there, otherwise, who knows how messy things would have gotten. Jackie apologized to the waiter again. Poor Uncle Jackie, Chu Bai felt exhausted just watching him. Once the commotion died down, Jade and Jackie returned to the table. Jade explained. I just wanted you to teach me a few moves, Uncle Jackie. Jackie wasn't angry, instead, he tried to reason with Jade. You know, Jade, a wise person seeks strength from within, while the unwise seek it from without. You first need to bring out your own inner strength before I can teach you. After listening, Jade tilted her head and let out a confused, huh. Seeing her bewildered look, Jackie had to rephrase. What I mean is, follow the rules and focus on eating your noodles. Just then, the noodles arrived. Jade started eating them half-comprehendingly, gulping them down. Her eating manners made Chu Bai feel incredibly embarrassed for her. Some of the splashing broth even landed on him. Tisk, he was a bit disgusted. Don't gobble your food like that. Can't you chew it? Jackie lectured her from the side. What? You want me to chew soup? Jade shot back, leaving Jackie speechless. He had no choice but to look to Uncle for help. Can you help me out, Uncle? Uncle naturally didn't want to deal with this mess and deflected. She's your niece. Jackie sighed and turned his gaze to Chu Bai. Little Bai, you need to help guide your sister from now on, okay? Chu Bai. Chu Bai didn't say anything, just nodded repeatedly, though, of course, it went in one ear and out the other. Sister. No. I don't want to be this guy's little sister. I want to be the big sister. Jade spoke up dissatisfiedly. Jackie explained patiently. Jade, Little Bai is older than you, so of course he's your big brother. HMPH. He's not even as tall as me. It had to be said that Jade was indeed quite tall at this age. Since girls develop earlier, she was about half a head taller than Chubai. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to drive the cars that Chubai couldn't. Chubai didn't care about titles and focused on slurping his noodles, but Jade pushed her luck. Come on, little Bai, let me hear you call me, big sister. Chubai rolled his eyes. Not wanting to argue with her, he called her, big sister, twice, which made Jade incredibly excited. There will be danger in the coming days. After finishing her noodles, Jade casually crushed the dessert on the table. This kind of dessert usually contains a slip of paper predicting good or bad luck for the near future. Jade took out the slip, which had that sentence written on it. Hearing this, Uncle couldn't help but offer a reminder. You must be careful in everything you do. Jackie, however, said dismissively. You actually believe the stuff inside cookies. As soon as he finished speaking, he felt someone standing behind him. His heart skipped a beat, and a bad premonition surfaced. Sure enough, a familiar voice rang out, greeting him. Good evening, Jackie. By now, the Dark Hand trio was already standing behind Jackie. Uncle, don't mock the cookies, you hear? Where is the talismanic incantation? A fight was about to break out on the spot. Fortunately, Chubai had quickly tucked the talismanic incantation away, so they didn't discover it. It had to be said that these three actually had some moral standards, they didn't attack the elderly or the young among them. But the trio was clearly no match for Jackie, and they were eventually beaten into a panicked retreat. Uncle Jackie, you're amazing. Seeing the admiration in Jade's eyes, Jackie couldn't help but smile and then said. Xiao Bai, protect them. I'm going after those three guys. This time, I must lock them up in section 13. With that, Jackie left quickly. I want to go too. Jade hurriedly tried to chase after him, but Uncle pulled her back with one hand. Jade, sit still. Learn a thing or two from Xiao Bai. That guy is such a bore. I don't want to learn from him. Jade pouted in dissatisfaction. Suddenly, her eyes darted around as if she had thought of something. She looked behind Uncle and Chubai, her face full of terror as she said. We're doomed. The restaurant manager looks furious. Hearing this, Uncle subconsciously looked behind him. Seeing no one there, he instantly realized he had been tricked by Jade. He quickly turned back, but the space in front of him was empty. She's really fast, isn't she? Chubai said while eating a snack from the table. Uncle sighed. In the end, Jackie still didn't catch the trio, they escaped by car. On his way back, he encountered a disobedient Jade, which gave him a massive headache. Quick, Uncle. We have to get back quickly, pack our things, and move into section 13. Jackie ran back to the restaurant at full speed. Tucking Chubai and Jade under each arm, he signaled for Uncle to leave. No one expected the Dark Hand to realize so quickly that the talismanic incantation on the shield was gone, nor did they expect them to track them down so fast. What? Move into section 13. Then what about my shop? Uncle shouted in protest. Oh, Uncle, now is not the time for that. Our safety is the most important thing. Jackie was somewhat helpless. While trying to persuade Uncle, who was unwilling to leave his antique shop, he waved to stop a taxi. The night in San Francisco was bustling and lively. Soon, a taxi stopped in front of them. Uncle sat in the front seat. After Jackie ushered Chubai and Jade into the car, he didn't get in himself. Uncle Jackie, why aren't you coming with us? Jade asked Jackie. Because I still have something important to do. Someone will pick you up at the antique shop. Jackie said as he closed the car door. He needed to go to section 13 first to hand over the talismanic incantation for safekeeping. Wait, where's the talismanic incantation? Watching the taxi drive away, he suddenly remembered the talismanic incantation was with Chubai. He slapped his forehead, feeling quite frustrated. Oh no, I actually made such a mistake. Just then, a taxi happened to be driving by. He hurriedly waved his hand to stop it. Follow that taxi in front. Meanwhile, on the rooftops of tall buildings and in dark alleys, countless ninjas of the Shotokan appeared. Their leader looked at the light of the magical artifact with a four-sided dragon head pointing toward the taxi Chubai was in, a red light flashing in his eyes. What kind of magic does this little thing have? In the taxi, Jade played with the rooster talisman in her hand, chattering away curiously. I told you, Jade, we won't know until we consult the ancient texts. Fine. If only this talismanic incantation could make me as strong as Uncle Jackie. Being as strong as Xiaobai would be acceptable too. Chubai glanced sideways at Jade but didn't reply. As long as she was happy. A child is a child, even if no one pays attention to her, she can have fun on her own. Take this, my super powerful flying punch. Ha! Jade used the hand holding the talismanic incantation to strike Chubai's shoulder heavily. Chubai was fine, but Jade's hand was hurt by the hard talismanic incantation. Seeing Jade shaking her hand with a pained expression, Chubai sighed helplessly. He spoke up to advise her. Jade, a girl should learn to be demure. Demure? Can I eat that? Jade showed total disdain for the idea. Chubai could only shake his head and chose to remain silent. But at that moment, he suddenly felt a surge of palpitations. This familiar feeling, it was those ninjas. Chubai looked out the window with a grave expression and said, Jade, put the talismanic incantation away. We're in trouble. Trouble. What? Before Jade could finish, the sudden braking almost made her bite her tongue. Fortunately, both of them were wearing seatbelts and weren't thrown forward. Who is it? Do you want to die? The driver leaned his head out of the window and yelled. Then, he saw countless people in ninja outfits appearing all around him. At the same time, the sound coming from the roof proved that his car's roof had also been visited. Whoa! The driver was scared half to death. No longer acting furious, he unbuckled his seatbelt, opened the door, and scrambled away. Oh, we're doomed. Jade and Uncle spoke at the same time. Chubai also instinctively began to grip the dagger at his waist. This was going to be trouble. Fortunately, Uncle Jackie hadn't confiscated his dagger, so he wasn't completely without a weapon. But dealing with so many Shotokan ninjas while protecting Jade and Uncle would be overwhelming. Uncle, can you drive? Chubai asked. Iya. This old man doesn't have a driver's license. Uncle said, but a smile appeared on his face. But Uncle knows how to drive. Vroom, vroom vroom. The car engine roared to life. Uncle stepped on the gas, knocked aside the ninjas blocking the way, and sped off. The car sped down the road. Seeing the chasing ninjas fall further and further behind, they finally breathed a sigh of relief. Whoa, Dad, you're so cool. Jade shouted excitedly. No one would have expected a man nearly 70 years old to drive so fiercely. Ha ha ha, you flatter me, Jade, but you mustn't learn from Dad. Seeing that they had completely shaken off the ninja army behind them, Dad slowed the car down. Driving fast on the road is truly dangerous. But misfortunes never come singly. They soon saw a no entry sign ahead. Ahead was a long suspension bridge. It seemed to be under construction at the moment, and vehicles and pedestrians were not allowed to enter. However, there were no crossroads nearby. They now had only two choices: bite the bullet and keep driving, or turn around and face the Shotokan. Iya tilde. I never heard that there would be construction here. Stopping in front of the no entry sign, Dad was at his wit's end. It seems the goddess of luck isn't on our side. Jade also had a look of dejection on her face. The current situation was a dilemma. Just then, a taxi suddenly stopped behind their car, and a person got out. It was Jackie Chan. Dad. Jade. Little bye. Jackie Chan shouted anxiously, running to the front of their car. It's Uncle Jackie. Jade's original dejection vanished instantly, and she shouted with excitement. In her eyes, Uncle Jackie was the most reliable adult. Several people got out of the car to meet Jackie Chan. Dad went up and struck Jackie Chan's forehead with 2 fingers, saying angrily, Do you know how much danger Dad was just in? Where did you go, all along? I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't expect them to come after you. It's my fault. Jackie Chan's face was full of lingering fear and self-reproach. If he hadn't caught up, who knows what kind of dangerous things would have happened next. Don't blame yourself, Uncle Jackie. They probably have a tool to track the talismanic incantation, otherwise, they wouldn't have all chosen to chase us. Chu Bai walked to Jackie Chan's side to comfort him, while looking at the leaping dark shadows in the distance, his eyes full of solemnity. The most important thing now is how to shake off these annoying guys and deliver the talismanic incantation safely to Section 13. I've already notified Captain Black. He's on his way and will arrive soon. Jackie Chan was also very serious. Jade, give me the talismanic incantation. You and Dad run far away. Chu Bai reached out his hand to Jade, and Jade obediently placed the talismanic incantation in it. She knew that if she and Dad stayed here, they would only cause trouble for Uncle Jackie and Chu Bai. Not long after they left, the Shotokan ninjas surrounded Chu Bai and Jackie Chan. The talismanic incantation was placed in Chu Bai's inner pocket to ensure it wouldn't be lost during the fight. The two stood back to back, and the battle was about to break out. Chu Bai saw a strange magical artifact in the hand of one of the ninjas. The thing was glowing directly at him. His heart skipped a beat, knowing that it was the tool they used to find the talismanic incantation. He had to find a chance to destroy it. Uncle Jackie, I'll distract them. You take the opportunity to destroy the thing. Jackie Chan also realized they were relying on the magical artifact in their hands to find them and nodded. Be careful. The ninjas swarmed forward. While some threw shuriken from a distance to harass them, the rest approached. Chu Bai and Jackie Chan leapt backward, easily dodging this round of attacks. Chu Bai was the first to attack them, while Jackie Chan picked up a nearby steel bar and repelled the ninjas attacking him in a few moves. Since the talismanic incantation was not on Jackie Chan, there weren't many ninjas attacking him. Chu Bai, on the other hand, was deep in the siege. Fortunately, he relied on his small body to maneuver among them, and for a short time, he was fine. Take this. After striking the ninja blocking his path into black smoke, Jackie Chan suddenly rushed toward the ninja holding the magical artifact. Seeing that things were going poorly, that ninja decisively merged into the shadows on the ground and disappeared. He ran. Little Bai, how are things on your end? Seeing that the plan had failed, Jackie Chan had no choice but to turn back to help Chu Bai. But with that one turn, his breath hitched in fear. High up on the suspension bridge, Chu Bai had been forced to the very edge. And below him was the water surface, dozens of meters away. At such a distance, falling down would be no different from falling onto a concrete floor. Be careful. Little Bai. Hearing Uncle Jackie's words, Chu Bai didn't respond but gave him a reassuring look. He hadn't been forced here, he had come up on his own initiative. In such a place, the numerical advantage of these ninjas would be completely gone, and they could only come forward one by one for a 1v1. In a duel, he wasn't afraid. As for the driver of the crane, after seeing such a scene, he had long since scrambled and run as far away as possible. The people working there were also afraid of being caught in the crossfire and fled in all directions. After paying the price of several ninjas falling, these ninjas didn't dare to act rashly. Their eyes were fixed on Chu Bai, more accurately, on the pocket containing the talismanic incantation. Jackie Chan was also hurriedly climbing up, wanting to rescue Chu Bai. In contrast, Chu Bai was calm and composed. After seeing Jackie Chan come up, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Now, it was the two of them surrounding these mysterious ninjas. The frontal combat strength of these ninjas was actually not strong. Of course, that was only relatively speaking. Their only advantages were their excellent coordination and endless dirty tricks. But now, their advantages were gone. They certainly realized this, and all jumped from the suspension bridge back to the ground. This distance was nothing to Chu Bai, only a height of 3 or 4 meters. He leapt down and once again stood together with Jackie Chan. Uncle Jackie, the situation isn't good. Have you contacted Captain Black? Chu Bai whispered in Jackie Chan's ear, and Jackie Chan also showed a serious expression. I did. Black said he'd be here soon, but I always feel he's a bit unreliable. Well, I hope he can arrive in time. Chu Bai sighed. These Shotokan ninjas were numerous and elusive, they could wear them out just by attrition. However, reality played another huge joke on them. A car that looked very luxurious stopped on the bridge, and 4 people stepped out. The ninjas automatically made a path for these 4 to walk through. The fat Toru, the short Chow wearing trendy glasses, the tall and thin Avon, and the big dummy Rasu. Oh, now we're in trouble. Jackie Chan's voice was full of dejection. If you know what's good for you, hand over the talismanic incantation. We don't like teaching kids a lesson. Avon looked at Chu Bai and said arrogantly. With so many Shotokan soldiers behind him and the presence of Toru, he thought they were sure to win. Chu Bai didn't reply but was thinking of a way to break the situation. He thought of the talismanic incantation. Dad said it contained magical magic. Now, he could only pin his hopes on it. He took it out, held it before his eyes, and focused his mind. Oh, it seems like a sensible child. Avon thought Chu Bai was compromising and stepped forward to take the talismanic incantation. To him, this was a great achievement that would lead to a salary increase. However, just as he approached Chu Bai, the talismanic incantation in Chu Bai's hand suddenly emitted a bright light. In the next moment, Avon was sent flying backward as if struck by something. Rasu and Joe hurriedly caught him, their eyes filled with shock and suspicion as they looked at Chu Bai. What did he do? Rasu asked Avon, but all he received in response were painful whimpers. It's magic. Chu Bai answered, he seemed to have gained some understanding of the rooster's ability. He could control everything through his will. Uncle Jackie, it seems I bet correctly. The talismanic incantation indeed contains unparalleled power. This is too incredible. Jackie Chan exclaimed in amazement. He had seen everything that just happened clearly. Avon was sent flying backward mysteriously without ever touching them. If this wasn't magic, he wouldn't believe it. What magic? Just cheap tricks. Toru let out a roar, refusing to believe in the supernatural as he charged toward them, only to be sent flying backward in the same way. His massive body smashed straight toward the spot where Rasu and the other 2 were standing. The 3 had no time to react, simply staring blankly at the massive body falling from the sky, murmuring under their breath. Oh, we're doomed. The shadow quickly enveloped them, followed by a loud crash as they were all knocked unconscious by the impact. The Shotokan ninjas, knowing the mission was a total failure, did not hesitate to drop smoke bombs. Thick smoke immediately blanketed the entire bridge. Chu Bai hurriedly used his ability to disperse the smoke, but he was a step too late. By the time the smoke cleared, the space in front of them was completely empty. Just then, the roar of a helicopter appeared above them, and Captain Black's voice came through the aircraft's loudspeaker. I hope I'm not late, Jackie. Looking at the helicopter in the sky, Jackie Chan couldn't help but complain. Oh, you're very timely. If you were any later, we would have had to take a taxi home. This time they got a free flight. During the trip, Jade seemed very excited. It was her first time riding in a military aircraft. Chu Bai, however, was in no such mood and fell fast asleep to the side. He was exhausted. Although the power of the rooster talisman was great, it had consumed a lot of his mental energy. Not to mention he hadn't had a good night's sleep in days. Exploiting child labor is illegal, hey. He wanted to report it. But Uncle Jackie seemed to be on very good terms with the cops, so he decided to forget it. Uncle didn't want to move into Section 13 because he believed it would ruin his feng shui, and no matter how they tried to persuade him, he wouldn't budge. Left with no choice, Captain Black stationed some personnel around the shop to ensure Uncle's safety. Captain Black didn't believe magic existed in the world no matter what, which was normal. Anyone would find the claim that magic exists in the world to be absurd. Chu Bai didn't want to demonstrate the talismanic incantation's power either. After all, it was very tiring. However, he liked it here. They provided him with plenty of candy. Many days later, in Mexico, inside a pyramid. Jade, I don't think this is a good idea. Chu Bai and Jade were walking alone inside the pyramid. It was pitch black inside, with the only source of light being the torch in Jade's hand. Hearing Chu Bai's words, Jade asked loudly, "What's not good about it? Do you really want to stay in the hotel doing that boring homework?" Chu Bai was silent for a moment and shrugged. "Okay, you convinced me. Uncle Jackie is really mean, not even calling us along for an adventure. This time I'm going to give him a big surprise. I think Uncle Jackie might give you a good spanking, Jade." Chu Bai shared his opinion. Hearing this, although Jade looked a bit scared, she remained stubborn. "HMPH, I'm not afraid." Just then, as if she had discovered something, a flash of panic appeared in Jade's eyes. She quickly grabbed Chu Bai's hand, pulled him behind cover, and extinguished the light source in her hand. The sound of tap 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 footsteps echoed in the corridor, very rhythmic, indicating the owner of the sound was very calm. Then came the firelight as the light source slowly approached their position. "It's Uncle Jackie," Jade whispered. The two of them huddled behind a stone pillar. Although the pillar was wide, it wasn't enough to completely hide both of them. If Uncle Jackie passed by here, he would surely find two sneaky, disobedient children. Even though Chu Bai had only been forced to follow because he was worried about Jade's safety, Uncle Jackie would surely scold them both equally. As Uncle Jackie approached, their hearts jumped into their throats. Fortunately, Jackie Chan stopped in front of a bronze bull head. After unlocking the mechanism hidden inside the bull head, Jackie Chan successfully found the talismanic incantation. Huh? Where did the talismanic incantation go? The confidence on Jackie Chan's face turned into shock. He felt around inside the bullhead's open mouth but found nothing. At that moment, a group of people quietly approached Jackie Chan. Chu Bai was the first to notice something was wrong. He heard many footsteps approaching. He nudged Jade with his elbow. Jade didn't understand what Chu Bai wanted to do at first, but she soon saw the several ill-intentioned figures, and her expression became panicked. However, she immediately calmed down. Looking at a skeleton not far from her, her heart stirred as she came up with a good idea, and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. When Chu Bai saw Jade's smile, he immediately felt a sense of foreboding. Because whenever Jade showed such a smile, it meant she was about to start some mischief. While Jackie Chan was being ambushed and no one was paying attention to their side, Jade modified the skeleton slightly. Chu Bai watched from the side, his mouth twitching, not knowing what Jade was doing with that thing. During the process, Jade gestured to him with her eyes, signaling him to come and help. All right. Chu Bai didn't waste any words and stepped forward to help Jade. The two of them together supported the wooden stick inserted into the skeleton, allowing it to float like a ghost. Because the space behind the skeleton was limited, Jade stood behind Chu Bai, gently hugging him and pressing close. Chu Bai felt a bit uncomfortable with such close contact. He had never been so close to anyone before. But without showing too much of his awkwardness, Chu Bai followed Jade's rhythm and walked forward slowly. "It's a mummy." With a cry of alarm, everyone's gaze shifted from Uncle Jackie to that skeleton. Floating in the air with its limbs flailing irregularly, it looked exceptionally terrifying against the dim backdrop. Whether out of fear or shock, everyone's expressions varied. By the time Toru reacted, he realized that the Uncle Jackie he was clutching had turned into Avon. Toru didn't believe in ghosts or gods at all. He casually tossed Avon aside and smashed the skeleton with a single slap, revealing the two people inside with awkward smiles. Uncle Jackie didn't have time to be shocked after seeing the two little ones. He scooped one up in each arm and took off running. Uncle Jackie had done a detailed investigation before coming here. he knew exactly how to leave this pyramid quickly. Just when they thought they had escaped the pursuit of the Dark Hand, Toru smashed through a wall and stepped out from the pyramid. Jade covered her mouth and let out a surprised cry. Oh my god. What kind of shoddy construction is this? Uncle Jackie. The locals would be very angry if they heard you say that, Jade. Alright, you two, we need to run. We'll settle the score with you once we're safe. The three of them sprinted through the woods. Although the mafia had motorcycles, driving in such a complex environment was very difficult. In the end, Uncle Jackie successfully escaped after borrowing a paraglider from an adventurer vacationing there. Returning to the hotel naturally involved a lecture, even though Uncle Jackie might have been flattened long ago if they hadn't arrived in time. After a short rest, Uncle Jackie decided to go out into the town to try his luck and see if he could find the whereabouts of the talismanic incantation. Since the talismanic incantation they were looking for this time was inside a bull's head, Uncle Jackie guessed there was a high probability they were looking for the ox talisman. This operation wasn't dangerous, so Uncle Jackie generously let the two children move about freely. Of course, this so-called freedom was freedom under Uncle Jackie's supervision. One always has to pay a price for freedom, don't they? Jade really didn't want to stay in the boring hotel for even one more second. If I stay here any longer, I'll grow bugs on me. You think so too, right, Xiao Bai? Jade nudged Chu Bai with her elbow. To be honest, Chu Bai really wanted to sleep in the hotel, so he shook his head honestly. This mission was just about finding clues. He didn't think Jade would encounter any danger, so naturally, he didn't want to consume his energy unnecessarily. Jade knew Chu Bai wouldn't nod easily. Spending so much time together had made her realize exactly what kind of person Chu Bai was. Generally speaking, a lazy guy who cared a lot about his companions. Oh, and he loved candy. I heard there's a local specialty called cactus candy here. Do you really not want to taste it? Let me tell you now, Uncle Jackie and I won't bring it back for you. We don't like candy. Jade stood with her hands on her hips, a look of certain victory on her face. Chu Bai was defeated. He admitted he was indeed a bit curious about the taste of that candy. Thus, on the streets of the Mexican town, three figures, one large and two small, appeared. Jade was still chattering away, excitedly reviewing what had happened this morning. There were mummies, paragliders, and a chorus. Mexico is so interesting. If the chorus you're talking about refers to those 2 or 3 people on the roadside using instruments I've never heard of, doing strange dances, and singing songs we can't understand, then it is indeed quite interesting. Chu Bai thought for a moment. The strange movements of those street performers did indeed make him want to stop and watch. Uncle Jackie didn't pay attention to the two little ones, his mind was on the whereabouts of the talismanic incantation. I don't think we can necessarily find the talismanic incantation here. Let's ask around, maybe the locals will know. You two go watch that chorus. No running off. The two little ones nodded obediently. Chu Bai was still looking around, trying to find the so-called cactus candy. Not long after Uncle Jackie left, a boy about their age approached them. Hello. My name is Paco. Lovely lady and handsome young man, what are your plans for tonight? Being approached by a stranger out of the blue, both of them showed expressions of wariness. What do you want? Jade blocked Chu Bai behind her. In her view, as the older sister, she had to protect her younger brother's safety. Even though this younger brother seemed to be older than her. Don't be so nervous. I'm just recruiting an audience for El Toro Fuerte. Paco said, handing the flyer in his hand to the two of them. You said ox what? Jade took it, subconsciously repeating Paco's words while looking over the flyer. I said ox warrior, the strongest man in Mexico. He has never lost a match. I want to be just like him when I grow up. Paco said, a look of deep pride and admiration appearing on his face. Jade also realized what the other person meant by recruiting an audience. You mean wrestling? Everyone knows that's just a trick to fool people. Ox Warrior is not a fake. He is invincible, you know. No one has ever been able to defeat him. Encountering remarks that slandered Ox Warrior, Paco became visibly agitated, his words full of confidence in Ox Warrior. Is that so? See that guy over there? Jade's competitive spirit was also piqued, and she pointed her finger at Uncle Jackie. Uncle Jackie was currently buying something, looking like he had already asked for information about the talismanic incantation. See that guy? He's the greatest wrestler. Chubai was somewhat speechless but didn't stop Jade's speech. It was just a rivalry between children, no need to pay it any mind. Him. That shifty-eyed one. Paco's tone was full of disdain. Uncle Jackie would definitely be very sad if he heard someone describe him like that. Chubai thought to himself. He could beat Ox Warrior into a total defeat. Jade retorted. Impossible. Possible. Impossible. Possible. Continuing this deadlock was meaningless, and Paco quickly thought of a good idea to counter Jade. In that case, the two of them should meet. See you tonight then. Good night, miss. My name is Jade. Goodbye, Jade. The pointless argument ended, and Uncle Jackie happened to walk over to them at that moment. Jade said to Uncle Jackie. Uncle Jackie, we have to go to the wrestling arena. The hat is so pretty. I'm glad you like it. This one is suitable for you to wear. Uncle Jackie said as he placed a clearly smaller straw hat on Jade's head and handed a candy to chew by. For you, cactus candy. Thanks, Uncle Jackie Tilda. Thanks. I just told that boy you're the greatest wrestler ever, so you have to prove it. It was over. The moment Xiao Yu said those words, Chubai knew Uncle Jackie would definitely start a long-winded lecture to scold her. He didn't want to listen to Uncle Jackie's nagging here. Without hesitation, he stepped directly in front of Xiao Yu. Uncle Jackie, before you lecture Xiao Yu, I think you should see this first. He handed the Ox Warrior poster Parker had given him to Jackie Chan. Amidst his confused gaze, Chubai spoke softly. The Ox talisman is far away, yet it's right before our eyes. Jackie Chan quickly noticed the mask on Ox Warrior's face. The object embedded in the forehead was exactly the Ox talisman he had been longing for. He sighed helplessly, folded the poster into a small square, and put it in his pocket. Alright, even though I have no interest in wrestling, it looks like we have no choice but to go to this so-called wrestling match. You're willing to get in the ring, Uncle Jackie. Even though Xiao Yu was confused by their conversation, it didn't stop her from being happy about Jackie Chan's decision. No, Xiao Yu, we have more important things to do. Jackie Chan shook his head, throwing cold water on Xiao Yu's excitement. Xiao Yu pouted and shook Chu Bai's arm, saying coaxingly. Xiao Bai, say something. You saw how arrogant that Parker was just now. Chu Bai remained silent, simply continuing to taste his cactus candy. It didn't taste good, it had an earthy, raw flavor of nature. At night, the three of them arrived at the wrestling arena. After buying tickets, the three of them passed through smoothly. Chu Bai was the last to enter. Before going in, he glanced back toward the rear. He felt as if someone was watching them from the dark alleyway over there. Those guys from the dark hand might have already found them. Why come all this way if you're not going to try, Uncle Jackie? Xiao Yu was still chattering away, not having given up on the idea of Jackie Chan entering the ring at all. In her eyes, Uncle Jackie was an invincible adult, no one could defeat him. She had absolute confidence in Jackie Chan. As long as Jackie Chan entered the ring, she could slap Parker's face hard and extinguish his arrogant fire. Just then, Parker, who had been waiting here for a long time, saw Xiao Yu's group and walked up happily. Good evening, Xiao Yu. Hi Parker, good evening. Xiao Yu replied politely. Did you really bring him to challenge the Ox Warrior? Parker's tone carried a hint of surprise and disdain. To this, Jackie Chan sternly denied Parker's claim. Not exactly, Parker. Also, do you know what this is? Jackie Chan pointed his finger at the forehead of the Ox Warrior on the wall poster and asked Parker. Of course I know. That's the ox warrior's symbol, because he's as strong as an ox. If I were you, I'd definitely be nervous. After Parker finished speaking, he waved to Chu Bai and Xiao Yu. Come on, you two, I reserved 3 seats right at the front. Xiao Yu didn't feel right saying anything in front of Parker. She simply couldn't imagine how Parker would mock and ridicule her if Uncle Jackie didn't get on stage later. It was just too embarrassing. With a sour face, she followed Parker toward the selected seats. Chu Bai didn't follow them, but he didn't follow Jackie Chan's footsteps either. Uncle Jackie had things he needed to do, and he had his own things to do. In the contestants' lounge area, Jackie Chan went to the room where the Ox Warrior was resting. Chu Bai, on the other hand, wandered around casually to see if he could find any unexpected surprises. As he walked, his path was blocked by 2 tall figures. Hey, what's a kid doing here? Are you lost? Due to the height difference, Chu Bai had to tilt his head back as far as he could to see the faces of the 2 people in front of him. One was well built, wearing a yellow tank top and a black hood. The other had a large belly, a bulky frame that still looked quite powerful. He wore a black tracksuit, a purple hood, and a purple cape. For some reason, the wrestlers here all liked wearing masks. So, the blunt Chu Bai asked directly. Why are you all wearing masks? It's for honor, kid. You'll understand when you grow up. Now go, this isn't a place for you. They clearly didn't want to talk much with a child and urged Chu Bai to leave. Alright, but they probably shouldn't be in here either. Chu Bai pointed behind the 2 men. There, Avon was walking arrogantly down the hallway with 3 others, scanning the surroundings as if looking for someone. Besides Joe and Rasu, there was one person he didn't recognize, likely a new recruit to the Dark Hand. The 2 men turned around and saw the group, their expressions instantly turning fierce. Hey, where did you guys come from? The 2 were tall and muscular, so they certainly weren't afraid of these people, especially since there were quite a few wrestlers resting in the surrounding rooms. Ah, we're just here looking for someone. Avon also knew this was their turf and didn't want to provoke them, so he could only explain weakly. However, Chu Bai stabbed them in the back from behind. They look like petty thieves here to steal things. These people looked shifty-eyed and clearly weren't good news. Chu Bai's words resonated strongly with the 2 men in front of him. He's lying. You brat. Rasu shouted indignantly but was frightened by the fierce glares of the 2 big men, forcing him to swallow the rest of his words. I think we need to have a good talk. Avon forced a very strained smile, while Chu Bai had already quietly slipped away. This was all he could do to help Uncle Jackie. Slowly, people looking for excitement were heading this way, and a child like him would look very out of place here. Before being discovered by the staff, he walked out of the area and conveniently bought 2 bottles of soda and a lot of candy from a vendor. Even though his pockets were already filled with plenty of candy. Having finished his task, he leisurely peeled off a candy wrapper and ate it in one bite. This was his reward for successfully completing his mission. Since Parker had mentioned earlier that he reserved front row seats, Chu Bai easily found Xiao Yu and sat down beside her. Hey, Xiao Bai. Where did you run off to? I've been looking for you for ages. Oh, is this for me? Thanks. Xiao Yu barely finished complaining before her attention was caught by the soda in Chu Bai's hand, and she impatiently snatched one of the bottles from him. Hey, is there one for me? Parker leaned over to ask. Chu Bai glanced at Parker and shook his head. He had seen Parker's earlier arrogance, so there was no way he would spend his own money to buy him anything. If you want a drink, you can go buy one yourself. After saying that, he ignored Parker's somewhat embarrassed expression and pointed at the blue-masked contestant on stage who was being beaten quite wretchedly. By the way, is that Uncle Jackie? Ah, yes. Seeing Jackie Chan being beaten so badly, Xiao Yu also found it a bit hard to watch. It looks like the Ox Talisman has given the Ox Warrior immense power. I guess so too. Oh, poor Uncle Jackie. Jade winced, as if every one of those punches were landing on her. Talismanic incantation. What are you talking about? Paco asked, puzzled. It's something that grants power. If the Ox Warrior didn't have the Ox Talisman, Uncle Jackie would definitely have won. Jade crossed her arms, the anger on her face plain to see. You're saying the Ox Warrior's strength is granted by an Ox Talisman. How is that possible? You're just making excuses for your idol's defeat. Paco clearly didn't believe Jade, and his voice was filled with anger. I am not. You are too. I'm not. The two children started bickering again. Chu Bai stood up, feeling a bit helpless. The fight on stage had ended. Uncle Jackie had been knocked unconscious, and the Ox Warrior was preparing to leave the stage after celebrating his victory. It was time for him to make his move. He silently followed the Ox Warrior. He didn't believe the man wouldn't take off his mask even while sleeping at night. After putting on a formal suit, the Ox Warrior walked out through the back door. Paco had already been waiting there for a long time, asking the Ox Warrior for an autograph. Just then, the members of the Dark Hand approached from a distance. After a brief exchange, they immediately started fighting. Then, Toru was lifted high by the Ox Warrior and thrown onto a nearby car. His massive weight crushed the car instantly, yet the Ox Warrior appeared completely unruffled as he delivered his victory speech. The Ox Warrior never removes his mask. Seeing that even Toru had been defeated, the Dark Hand members turned tail and ran. They didn't think their ragtag group stood a chance against the Ox Warrior. From the rooftop, Chubai saw everything clearly. The Dark Hand obviously wouldn't send only these few people to snatch the talismanic incantation. Those ninjas must be lying in wait nearby, biding their time to strike. Chubai was in no hurry to show himself. When the snipe and the clam fight, the fisherman wins. The more chaotic it became, the better his chance of snatching the talismanic incantation. Just as the Dark Hand fled, Uncle Jackie followed out from the back door. They all gasped when they saw Toru's pathetic state. Jackie Chan hurriedly chased after the direction the Ox Warrior had gone, with Jade following closely behind. And behind Jade was Paco. After catching up with the Ox Warrior, Jackie Chan had a rather unfriendly exchange with him. They soon discovered that while they were arguing, they had been surrounded by countless ninjas. Chubai moved across the rooftops, looking for the perfect moment to intervene. He was confident that as long as he got the Ox Talisman, these ninjas would be no match for him. Just then, a loud bang rang out. A gunshot. The piercing gunshot sliced through the air like a musical rest in a war symphony. For a moment, the battle below came to a brief halt. Chubai stopped in his tracks, his pupils shrinking as he stared at the bullet hole that had pierced the roof in front of him. Gripping the dagger at his waist, he looked toward the source of the sound. Under the moonlight, he was able to see the newcomer clearly. It was a middle-aged man wearing a cowboy hat, leather jacket, and leather pants, smoking a cigar, a classic Western cowboy look. His hand rested on his hip, holding a revolver with smoke still wafting from the barrel. He blew gently on the barrel, dispersing the smoke, then flashily twirled the gun before holstering it. He spoke first, his tone full of disdain and arrogance. Look what I found. A little brat. Where are your parents? The gunshot also caught the attention of those fighting below. Jackie Chan was shocked when he saw it was Chu Bai. Xiao Bai. What are you doing up there? It's dangerous. Although he knew Chu Bai was strong, he didn't believe the boy could defeat a criminal with a gun. How can he be there? Paco's voice was also full of surprise. No one paid him any mind. Jade looked at Chu Bai with a face full of worry and cried out. He has a gun. Don't worry about me, Uncle Jackie. I can handle this. Trust me. Reversing his grip on the dagger, he held it in a backhand position, his nerves taut as he stared intently at his opponent. That shot just now was your only chance to kill me. Unfortunately, you didn't seize that hard-won opportunity. Quite the big talker, kid. Now, I'm going to let you taste the prowess of Mexico's #1 cowboy. With that, the man drew his weapon and fired several shots in quick succession. Below, Jade had already closed her eyes in fear, and Jackie Chan was knocked to the ground after leaving an opening due to his worry. Chu Bai dodged left and right, easily evading the flying bullets. Prepared as he was, it was almost impossible for such bullets to hit him. How is this possible? Seeing that not a single shot hit, the confidence in the cowboy's eyes turned into horror. Chu Bai didn't have time to explain. He lunged forward in a few steps and swung his dagger horizontally, aiming straight for the man's neck. The cowboy tried to raise his gun to fire again, but the close proximity left him no room to use it. Chu Bai struck swiftly and ruthlessly, aiming for the man's head. Of course, he attacked with the hilt of the knife. If he actually killed this man, there would surely be endless trouble afterward. Moreover, it wouldn't be conducive to maintaining his relationship with Uncle Jackie and Jade. To his surprise, however, the cowboy dodged the blow. He leaned back and stumbled a few steps, but ultimately didn't fall. Was it because the hilt's reach was too short? Chu Bai wondered to himself, but reality didn't give him much time to think as the cowboy unhesitatingly fired the last bullet from his revolver. The bullet whistled past, but Chu Bai evaded it with just a slight tilt of his head. Yet, the bullet still clipped a few strands of his hair. He could even feel the gust of wind and heat as it grazed past his ear. The cowboy turned and ran, his escape posture so comical he looked like a circus clown. As he ran, he didn't forget to reload his gun. His reloading speed was fast, and he kept firing to slow Chu Bai down. Although Chu Bai could catch up to him, it would undoubtedly waste a lot of time. Uncle Jackie and the others were still fighting, he needed to go help. But the opponent had a gun. If he doubled back, Chu Bai could dodge the bullets, but Uncle Jackie and the others might not be so lucky, especially Jade. For a moment, he was in a bit of a dilemma. No. Uncle Jackie. Let him go. The wind carried Jade's urgent cry. Though faint, Chu Bai heard it clearly. Oh no, he thought to himself. No time to chase this guy, saving Uncle Jackie was more important. With that thought, Chu Bai turned back without hesitation, abandoning his current target. Hey, giving up the chase already. The cowboy curled his lip when he saw Chu Bai turn back. He had no intention of following. Are you kidding? The kid can dodge bullets. He never wanted to run into a monster like that again for the rest of his life. Besides, Valmont's mission was complete. Holding this kid off for so long was definitely going above and beyond. He'd have to ask that guy for more money. When Chu Bai arrived at Jade's side, he only saw her kneeling on the ground, helplessly watching the car ahead slowly disappear from her sight. Ox Warrior sat dejectedly under a streetlight, while Paco cried in front of him. Jade, come with me. We're going to save Uncle Jackie. Chu Bai patted Jade's head and reached out to hand her a piece of candy. Cactus candy. Chu Bai didn't like eating it, so he took the opportunity to give it to Jade. But they've already driven far away. Trust me, Jade. After giving Jade a reassuring look, Chu Bai took her hand. Then, he shouted toward Ox Warrior, who was sighing alone over there. Ox Warrior, we have to save Uncle Jackie, the good man who fought you twice. No, without the Ox Talisman, I can't do anything. Ox Warrior remained sitting dejectedly on the ground. It seemed that if left alone, he would surely stay despondent like this until dawn. Jade was speechless seeing Ox Warrior in such a pathetic state. Anxious to save him, she pulled Chu Bai's hand, wanting to leave. Forget it, Xiao Bai. Let's not worry about him. Saving Uncle Jackie is more important. No, Jade. More people means more strength. Besides, you wouldn't just watch two kids go up against those big bad guys, would you? Clearly, the second half of Chu Bai's sentence was directed at Ox Warrior. The man obviously couldn't escape the condemnation of his own conscience and slowly stood up. The Dark Hand boarded a plane overnight, wanting to return to San Francisco as quickly as possible to deliver both the talismanic incantation and Jackie to Valmont. It had to be said, they were truly wealthy and powerful to be able to get a private jet. By then, Jackie had already been tied up inside the cabin. Jade sat on Ox Warrior's shoulders and observed the scene inside through the window. Suddenly, a plan came to mind. Uncle Jackie! She shouted, quickly drawing the attention of the trio inside. Rasu stood up and walked toward the cabin door, muttering, "I'll deal with this kid." However, when he opened the door, he saw Ox Warrior beneath Jade. "You've been tricked." A Nike-like curve formed at the corners of Jade's mouth. Before Avon could cry out in surprise, he was pulled off the plane by Ox Warrior. Chow rushed forward to check the situation, but Jackie behind him stood up and kicked him flying. Meanwhile, Chubai nimbly entered the cabin and knocked Rasu unconscious with a single hand chop. Quick! The talismanic incantation is in a box in the cockpit. Don't let them take it away. Once the rag was removed from Jackie's mouth, this was the first thing he said. Hearing this, Jade jumped down from Ox Warrior's shoulders, wanting to head to the cockpit. Worried about Jade's safety, Ox Warrior followed her. Fortunately, Chubai was there. He pulled out a dagger and untied Jackie. The four of them successfully boarded the plane. Toru alone was clearly no match for them. After being beaten senseless by the group, he was thrown off the plane. With the talismanic incantation in hand, the mission was over. To prevent any accidents, the group boarded a flight back to Los Angeles early the next morning. Ox Warrior also regained his confidence because of this incident. He became unstoppable in subsequent wrestling matches, and Paco became his little fanboy once again. San Francisco, a certain commercial street. Chubai was accompanying Jade while shopping outside. Because of their rushed enrollment, their school supplies weren't fully prepared. Meanwhile, Jade was chattering incessantly about their recent experience in the Amazon rainforest. "You know, that Wesley is just a big jerk. Not only did he keep ruining our plans, but he also stole the snake talisman." "I know, Jade. You've said this many times." Chubai felt somewhat helpless. Jade was like a little bird chirping nonstop in his ear, which prevented him from properly observing the surroundings to ensure they were safe. "Oh, sorry. I'm just so angry. By the way, did I tell you about that giant snake? It was really huge." "You've said it." Chubai nodded. "What about the piranhas in the river and the bats in the cave?" "You've said it." Then what about the hidden temple?" "You've said it." Chubai became a heartless nodding machine, responding to every one of Jade's questions while being completely dismissive. Actually, some of the things Jade mentioned were new to him, but he really couldn't muster any interest in them. As for why he hadn't gone with Uncle Jackie. Because Uncle Jackie hadn't intended to take them in the first place, but Jade had followed him secretly. At that time, Chubai was in Section 13, where Captain Black had given him a batch of decent weapons. So, he had perfectly missed that trip. "Hey, that person looks so familiar. What was his name again?" Jade stopped and scratched her head, unable to recall the man's name for a long time. Chubai looked in the direction Jade was pointing and saw a large, fat man sitting on a chair with a face full of sorrow. In front of him was a tiny donut. He seemed very reluctant to finish it, chewing in small bites, a behavior that was quite inconsistent with his massive frame. Next to him was a dessert shop. Chubai gritted his teeth. He had been so focused on looking for bad guys that he hadn't noticed there was a dessert shop here. What a sin. "Let's go, Jade," Chubai said, walking toward the dessert shop without the slightest hesitation. Jade, however, was full of confusion, her eyes wide. "Are you sure we're going to deal with that big guy here?" "What do you mean, deal with that big guy?" Chubai was puzzled but didn't look back, walking straight into the dessert shop. It was only then that Jade realized what Chubai was actually planning to do. She slapped her forehead and sighed. Sigh, he's hopeless. She could already imagine Chubai walking out of the shop carrying a large bag of desserts and then giving her the smallest piece of cake. Her guess was correct. After Chubai came out, that was exactly what he did. But the only difference was that when Chubai passed by Toru, he silently placed a donut on his table. Toru only had a quarter of his donut left. Even though Chubai had spent a long time picking things out in the shop, Toru still hadn't finished the donut that could be eaten in 2 bites. So Chubai gave him one. Even though Toru was an enemy, Chubai believed that people who liked desserts weren't bad people, at least not irredeemably evil. When Toru saw the extra donut on the table, he was stunned. He stared blankly at Chubai, who nodded politely to him before continuing forward. That's not fair. Jade caught up with Chubai and shouted loudly. Why did you give me such a small piece of cake, but gave that big guy such a large donut? Jade, eating too many sweets will make you fat and give you cavities. I don't think you're in any position to lecture me about that. Jade was huffing with anger. She naturally liked little cakes. All children have a sweet tooth. It was just that she wasn't as obsessed as Chubai. But she certainly wanted to eat more. Furthermore, Chubai's double standard really made her angry. Comparison brings hurt, and her mood was now sour to the extreme. Thank you. Toru whispered his thanks behind them, his eyes full of emotion. Dad, I need to go to New York for a bit. While I'm away, you need to keep an eye on Jade and Chubai's schoolwork. Of course, I know Chubai can handle things well without supervision, but the focus is Jade. When Chubai and Jade returned to Old Mont's antique shop, they heard Uncle Jackie's voice before they even opened the door. Uncle Jackie is actually trying to sneak out without us. How despicable. Jade had a look of indignation on her face as she crossed her arms, quietly waiting for Uncle Jackie to push open the door. Chubai let out a sigh. If he had known, he would have wasted more time while shopping. Now, look at this, another long trip. With the sound of hurried footsteps, Uncle Jackie rushed out the door, only to come to a dead stop in front of the two after taking a single step. He gave a startled shudder as if he'd been caught doing something wrong, but after recovering, he acted as if nothing had happened and asked. Oh, you're back. Did you get everything on the list? Of course. Jade stared at Uncle Jackie with an unfriendly expression, making him feel a wave of guilt. If there's nothing else, hurry up and do your homework. I have some business to attend to, I'll be back soon. Uncle Jackie waved his hand, wanting to leave quickly, but Jade blocked his path. She spoke in a playful tone. New York must be a lot of fun, don't you think, Uncle Jackie Tilda? We heard everything from outside. Chubai explained from the side. Uncle Jackie sighed. He had no choice but to take these two little ones with him to the airport. Because it was a secret mission, they did not take a Section 13 plane. During the journey, Jade seemed very excited. New York, the most prosperous city in the USA. She had never been there before. Chubai, on the other hand, appeared incredibly calm, staring blankly at the clouds outside out of boredom. What are you looking at? Jade leaned in close to him, peering out curiously, but she didn't see anything interesting. Chubai pushed Jade's face away, telling her to keep her distance. It was because her hair was brushing against his face, and it was very itchy. Jade, be quiet. A girl should act like a girl. Uncle Jackie said this from across them, but he didn't actually stop Jade, because he knew that doing so would only be counterproductive. Your thinking is too old-fashioned, Uncle Jackie. I won't let my behavior be restricted by the opinions and words of others. As Jade spoke, she took the opportunity to grab Chubai's hand, the one he was using to push her away. After that, she even more unscrupulously pressed her entire weight against Chubai. Her height advantage allowed her to pin Chubai down easily. Of course, this was also thanks to the fact that Chubai was too lazy to resist. She looked out the window again, but finding nothing interesting, she pouted and let Chubai go. A short while later, Jade had another mischievous idea. She took out a black pen she had just bought from her backpack and waved it in front of Chubai. Chubai, how about we play cards? The loser has to draw a circle on their face. Sure. Chubai nodded silently. He was actually quite good at card games. Because he sometimes had to stay in tombs for a long time, he had learned some card skills to pass the time. After a while, Chubai looked at Jade's face, which was almost completely covered in drawings. He felt a bit troubled. There was nowhere left to draw. That's right. In all that time, Jade had only won a single round, and even then, it was only because Chubai had intentionally gone easy on her. HMPH. I'm not playing anymore. Jade angrily threw down the cards in her hand and rushed toward the restroom. Since the pen she used was water-soluble, it could be easily washed off. This was why Uncle Jackie tolerated them playing such a game. We're here. Get ready to get off the plane. Just then, as the plane was about to reach its destination, Uncle Jackie stood up and stretched. Thanks to Chubai's presence, he had been able to get some good rest without being disturbed by Jade. Uncle Jackie, you haven't said what we're doing here yet. Do you have a lead on a new talismanic incantation? Chubai asked curiously. No, it's the snake talisman. It's currently in the New York Museum, and we need to go get it back. Oh, a museum. Sounds boring. Since the restroom wasn't far from them and the door was open, Jade heard their conversation clearly. She shouted loudly from the restroom, as if afraid Uncle Jackie and Chubai wouldn't hear her. Exactly, Jade. That's why I said there was no need for you to come along. No, Uncle Jackie. Chubai and I can go to the amusement park. I heard they have the world's largest amusement park here. Jade became inexplicably excited. Well, case closed. Jade came here purely to have fun. Fine. It's fine for you and Chubai to go to the amusement park. Just stay close to Chubai and stay safe. Uncle Jackie didn't hesitate to let the two go. In his view, as long as Jade wasn't following him into anything dangerous, she could do whatever she wanted. Besides, Chubai would take good care of Jade. Yay! Uncle Jackie is the best. Jade's cheers echoed from the restroom. I'll leave Jade to you, Chubai. Uncle Jackie patted Chubai's shoulder, a look of relief appearing on his face. It seemed the prospect of not having to look after a child made him very happy. Chubai sighed. He had no interest in amusement parks, even though he had never been to one. He would much rather stay in the hotel, watching TV and eating sweets. But there was no helping it. He was worried Jade might run into danger if she went alone, so he could only nod and agree. Alright, I'll take care of her. Yay! Chubai is the best too. Jade's cheers rang out again, causing the two men to exchange a glance, both wearing helpless, bitter smiles. Since it was nearing dusk, the priority was to find a place to stay as quickly as possible. Since Section 13 would reimburse their expenses, they weren't stingy and found the most famous hotel in the area. One room each. Because they had left in a hurry, Chubai hadn't brought many weapons. A switchblade and a stun gun developed by Section 13, those were all the weapons he had brought. After arriving in his room, he hid the weapons in a drawer and then turned on the TV, boredly watching the programs. Knock 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 tilde. After an unknown amount of time, a knock sounded at the door. Chubai immediately became alert. He glanced at the clock. It was 9 o'clock in the evening. He didn't think anyone should be looking for him now. Due to his height, he couldn't see the visitor through the peephole on the door, so he called out to ask. Who is it? It's me, Jade tilde. Jade's voice was very soft, as she was afraid of disturbing Uncle Jackie's rest next door. Chubai realized this as well and gently pushed the door open to let Jade in. What are you doing here at this hour? Chubai watched in confusion as Jade strolled into his room carrying a large bag, and he voiced his internal doubt. To play, of course. Uncle Jackie can't control us right now. We can play all night and then go to the amusement park tomorrow. Jade jumped excitedly onto Chubai's bed, grinning widely. Early the next morning, Jackie Chan woke up early and headed to the New York Museum, hoping to persuade the curator to hand over the talismanic incantation to Section 13 for safekeeping. Section 13 is an organization that secretly protects national security. Its movements are hidden and not well known to the public. Therefore, Jackie Chan could not use Section 13's name to force the curator to hand over the talismanic incantation. he could only rely on his own efforts and social skills. Chubai felt that Uncle Jackie would definitely return in defeat this time, even though he really hoped Uncle Jackie could get his hands on the talismanic incantation. If that happened, he wouldn't need to do manual labor at night. After arriving at the museum, Jackie Chan hurriedly found the museum curator. The curator clearly didn't want to hand over the talismanic incantation easily because Jackie Chan couldn't offer enough bargaining chips. After a few words of conversation, the curator ignored Jackie Chan and went to receive other important guests. There was no time for Jackie Chan to feel dejected, as he soon discovered Rasu from the dark hand carrying a spy camera and taking pictures of the talismanic incantation. The two engaged in a fierce chase, and in the end, Rasu's suit was left with only 2 sleeves. Fortunately, he successfully escaped Jackie Chan's pursuit. Unlike Jackie Chan's colorful morning life, Chubai and Jade slowly woke up from their sleep long after the sun had risen high in the sky. The two of them had a blast last night. To be precise, Jade had a blast. With the TV on, they played chess, ate snacks, and played house together. Chubai had started feeling sleepy quite early, but in order not to spoil Jade's fun, he held on for quite a long time. When he woke up again, he felt something heavy pressing on his body, to be precise, pressing on his face. He reached out and touched it. It was smooth and soft. What on earth was it? His confusion was soon answered because he heard a familiar soft moan. Tilda, it tickles, Xiao Bai, stop licking. If you keep licking, I'm really going to get angry. What kind of strange dream was she having? Driven awake by Jade's provocative words, Chubai snapped his eyes open. Who am I licking? Licking what? At first glance, what met his eyes was a foot as white as jade, small, delicate, and incredibly exquisite. At this moment, his hand was holding this jade-like foot. As if sensing Chubai's touch, Jade's little toes subconsciously curled with force. She might still be having some kind of dream that couldn't be written out. He didn't feel much of anything, only slightly lamenting in his heart how precocious children are nowadays. Gently moving Jade's foot off himself, he got out of bed and began to wash up. Due to his love for sweets, Chubai maintained his teeth very carefully. If he got cavities because of laziness, that would be a real pain. After washing up and coming out, he saw Jade sitting on the bed in a daze, gently rubbing her bleary eyes and mumbling. I think I had a very strange dream. Good morning, Jade. Chubai greeted Jade politely. Good morning, Xiao Bai. Oh right. I remember now, I think I dreamed of a dog with the exact same name as yours, and it really liked licking my feet. Hearing Jade's words, Chubai rolled his eyes speechlessly. She made it sound like he was some kind of pervert. He began his counterattack. I'm glad you could have such a beautiful dream. That's not a beautiful dream. I don't want to have my feet licked by a dog, especially one using your name. The corners of Jade's mouth curled up slightly, her eyes full of provocation. She was using this method to retaliate for Chubai's lack of mercy last night. No matter what kind of card game it was, she always lost more than she won, and this hateful guy didn't even know how to go easy on her. Chubai remained silent. He naturally wouldn't get angry over Jade's childish words, he just couldn't be bothered to deal with her. He stepped forward and pulled open the curtains. With usher, sound, dazzling sunlight instantly flooded the room, causing both Chubai and Jade to squint their eyes involuntarily. What time is it anyway? Jade scratched her head. After seeing the sun hanging high in the sky outside, she knew it certainly couldn't be called early morning anymore. Fortunately, Uncle Jackie had things to do in the morning, otherwise, seeing them wake up at this time, he would definitely lecture them severely. She crawled on the bed, looking for the watch she had tossed aside yesterday because it was uncomfortable to wear, wanting to see what time it actually was. 10:30, it's not too late. Chubai saw Jade's watch on the floor, picked it up, and read out the time displayed on it. Oh, it looks like we'll arrive at the amusement park just in time for lunch. Jade unceremoniously snatched the watch from Chu Bai's hand and put it on her right wrist again, thinking about what to eat for lunch while putting it on. Thinking of lunch made her think of things she hated, and Jade said with a face full of resistance. I swear, I'm not eating a sandwich today. I'm sick of eating those at school. How about we have lunch at the most famous dessert shop in New York? Chu Bai made a suggestion, which was heartlessly rejected by Jade. No. I'm sick of even desserts. I really don't understand why you have such a high obsession with desserts. How about we change our palate? Even if Jade liked eating sweets, eating them every day would eventually get tiring. Although she said this in an inquiring tone, Chu Bai knew that he wouldn't be able to go to the dessert shop today no matter what. Jade's ideas were very hard to change. Sighing, he said dejectedly. Fine, whatever you say. Yay. Then let's go. New York Amusement Park. Ignoring Chu Bai's low morale, Jade raised her hands and shouted excitedly. After getting everything ready, the two set off. At a hot pot restaurant in Chinatown, Chu Bai looked at the bubbling red soup base in front of him, unable to bring himself to take a bite no matter what. It wasn't that he hated spicy food, but this thing was just a bit too bright red. With the dense layer of chili peppers churning on top, Chu Bai believed that if he took one bite, he would definitely see his great-grandmother. And seeing how Jade's face had quickly turned red and she started chugging milk after just one bite, he didn't want to end up like her. How does it feel? Seeing Jade recover, Chu Bai asked curiously. So good. Jade's face was contorted, but she still gave Chu Bai a thumbs up. Chu Bai hesitated for a moment, then carefully picked up a slice of beef roll, dipped it in sauce, and put it in his mouth. The next moment, his face also began to turn red rapidly, but he didn't chug milk like Jade did. Although it was spicy, it was just at the limit of what he could endure. He just felt his head itching, as if something was about to grow out of it. Although the two of them couldn't experience many of the amusement park's rides due to their height, they still had a great time. Of course, only Xiao Yu had a great time. To Chu Bai, these things were far too boring and meaningless. For instance, he felt the carousel didn't hold a candle to the Shield roller coaster he rode with Uncle Jackie at Linderhof Palace in Bavaria that day. However, the various layouts and scenery in the amusement park were quite nice, and there were many novel sweets, so Chu Bai actually quite liked it here. At one point, a security guard came over to ask if they were lost, and after their explanation, they successfully garnered the attention of the entire amusement park's security staff. There was no helping it. What parent would feel at ease letting two small children come to an amusement park together? The sun set behind the mountains, it was now dusk. The two of them squeezed into the crowded and noisy circus tent, applauding the performers in the center of the arena. For our next act, let us welcome this sharpshooter from Mexico. Jim. Amidst the cheers of the audience, a tall, well-built middle-aged man with a beard slowly walked out from behind the curtain. Chu Bai, who hadn't been paying much attention, had his pupils constrict the moment he saw the man's face. His memory was excellent. At first glance, he recognized the man on stage as the cowboy who had intercepted him in Mexico a few days ago. How could he be here? No, if he was here, then those guys from the Dark Hand must be nearby too. What was their objective? Shouldn't their focus be on the museum right now? Chu Bai scanned his surroundings but didn't spot a single trace of the Dark Hand. Perhaps it was just a coincidence. Chu Bai didn't dare to gamble. Without hesitation, he grabbed Xiao Yu's hand, wanting to take her away from there. Seeing that Chu Bai wanted to leave, Xiao Yu was full of confusion, but she still followed his pace. She leaned into Chu Bai's ear and asked in a low voice. What happened? We saw that cowboy on stage in Mexico, he's one of the Dark Hand. Chu Bai explained in a low voice, their presence as two small children completely inconspicuous in the crowded throng. You mean, that Jim is the bad guy who fired the gun that day? Xiao Yu gasped, her tone full of astonishment. That's right. Chu Bai spoke with great certainty. he knew they had to leave here with Xiao Yu right now. It was too dangerous here. If they got entangled with the Dark Hand, it would be very troublesome. After all, the only weapons he had on him right now were a stun gun with little ammo left and a dagger. If a fight broke out, he really couldn't beat that group from the Dark Hand. However, upon hearing Jim's identity, Xiao Yu clearly became excited. We have to track him. He must have some scheme by appearing here. No, Xiao Yu, do you remember why we came here? We're just here to have fun. Besides, if Uncle Jackie finds out, he will definitely lecture us severely again. As Chu Bai pulled Xiao Yu through the crowded throng, he tried to persuade her, attempting to get her to abandon this dangerous idea. Regardless, this place was quite a distance from the museum. Even if they had some scheme, it wouldn't affect Uncle Jackie. That was what he thought. Oh tilde, what a buzzkill. Xiao Yu muttered a complaint, pouting as she followed behind Chu Bai, her face full of displeasure. But she also knew that Chu Bai was considering their safety, so she had no choice but to abandon her dangerous idea. Hey, you two Chinese kids, how come you're out so soon? Did you upset your sister? The security guard stationed outside saw the two of them come out so quickly, and with Xiao Yu following behind Chu Bai looking unhappy, he joked with a smile. When Xiao Yu heard his words, her anger eased just a little. That's right, I am this guy's older sister. Heaven knows why she had such a strong obsession with being called an older sister. Chu Bai felt that he completely didn't understand a girl's heart, absolutely not at all. However, seeing her calm down a bit, Chu Bai also breathed a sigh of relief. Xiao Yu was hard to coax when angry, especially since she was slowly losing her taste for sweets, which rendered Chu Bai's theory, that you just give a girl candy when she's angry, completely useless. Chu Bai smiled at the security guard and gave an explanation without blushing or skipping a beat. It's getting too late, we have to go back. Is that so? You know where the exit is, right? Do you need me to escort you? No need, thank you, mister. Chu Bai smiled politely. Meanwhile, the Dark Hand trio was searching for something in the amusement park. Of course, they were disguised, as they had experienced being refused entry to amusement parks many times because their appearances were too menacing. Avon, walking in front wearing a Donald Duck costume, held the amusement park map and followed the directions step by step. And behind him, Joe, wearing a Mickey Mouse costume, and Rasu, wearing a Pluto costume, kept complaining incessantly. Why do you think the boss insisted on us coming to invite that guy? He ran faster than anyone last time. He couldn't even handle a kid. Rasu complained with dissatisfaction, while not forgetting to wave at the children around him who were looking at him. Compared to that, what I care more about is why we have to wear these silly costumes. This doesn't fit our style at all. Joe was equally dissatisfied. His point of contention was hating this costume. This costume was too bulky, and walking such a long distance was exhausting. Just endure it, if you don't want us all to get kicked out. Avon's words ended this brief complaint, and the three began chatting about other topics. For example, their future prosperity after collecting all the talismanic incantations. Hey, look, isn't that the kid from Uncle Jackie's family? Just then, the sharp-eyed Rasu spotted the two children weaving through the crowd and hurriedly pointed in that direction, shouting. Where? Where? Avon and Joe's gazes turned in that direction simultaneously. Sure enough, the two children were over there buying cotton candy. The three of them exchanged glances, all seeing the intention in each other's eyes. Why look for some stupid cowboy? Capturing these two kids was much more cost-effective than finding the cowboy. The poor trio had absolutely no idea about Chu Bai's fighting skills. They apparently weren't present when Chu Bai showed off his might. Back on Chu Bai's side, after taking Xiao Yu far away from the circus, he also felt he had been overthinking things. After all, he couldn't sense anyone following them. Well, actually, there was someone. The amusement park security guards' gazes were always occasionally fixed on them. After all, if two small children had an accident under their watch, they could forget about keeping this job. Just as Chubai breathed a sigh of relief, he saw cotton candy for sale over there and wanted to buy one to taste. After all, who knew when he would come here again? He would treat this as his final farewell to this place. What? You ask why he didn't buy one for Xiao Yu. She felt nauseous just seeing sweets now. Chu Bai felt three malicious gazes directed at him. Frowning slightly, he looked toward the direction he felt them coming from. There were three people dressed in mascot costumes, playing classic Disney characters, slowly walking towards them. That malicious gaze was aimed unreservedly at himself and Jade. Looking back at the half-finished cotton candy, Chubai's heart was filled with a difficult hesitation. Observing the surroundings, he didn't feel any accomplices. If it was just the three of them, it wouldn't be much of a problem. He decided to take the initiative and settle it quickly. Hey, Jade, wait here for a moment. I'm going to the bathroom. He didn't tell Jade his true purpose or plan because, based on his understanding of her, if she knew his goal, she would definitely follow along to join the fun. That would be too dangerous. Okay, Tilda, hurry back. Jade waved her hand, glancing sideways at Chubai with some helplessness. He was the one who clearly said it was dangerous, and he was the one who wanted to buy cotton candy. She felt like she was being played by this guy. She felt that Chubai was just greedy for cotton candy and had found an excuse to leave the circus. Not caring about the direction Chubai left in, Jade continued to stare blankly at the roller coaster moving on the tracks, listening to the screams of the people on it. She swore that once she was tall enough, she would definitely come here to experience it. It looked so exciting. On the trio's side, Rasu saw Chubai's movements and said with some uncertainty. Is that kid walking towards us? He couldn't have discovered our identities, could he? Are you stupid, Rasu? Wearing these mascot suits, even the boss wouldn't recognize us. And even if he did recognize us, shouldn't he be running away now? How could he possibly be walking towards us? Avon shrugged, not taking it seriously. No way, Tilda. Chow echoed, excitement hard to hide in his eyes. As long as they could accomplish this mission, Valmont would surely reward them handsomely. Then he would have the money to buy a new pair of glasses. The look of his current glasses could no longer keep up with his aesthetic. However, when they finished their exchange, they were horrified to find that Chubai was already standing in front of them, watching them with cold eyes. The three were all startled, followed by the irritation of being frightened. Avon spoke first, his tone fierce. Hey, kid, don't look at me like that. I hate that look. As he spoke, he tried to reach out and grab Chubai, but Chubai took 2 steps back and easily dodged it. He shrugged, his tone carrying a hint of mockery. This isn't a good place to start something. If you're not afraid to die, follow me to the bathroom. After speaking, he took the lead and walked toward the amusement park's bathroom. The trio standing there was momentarily deterred by Chubai's words. They stood there looking at each other, no one wanting to be the first to step out. How is this little guy so confident? Could Jackie Chan be there? Rasu's words woke them from their stupor, causing the remaining two to freeze together. Right. How could Jackie Chan let 2 kids come to the amusement park alone? He must be in the bathroom right now. Right. I think we need to reconsider our plan. Besides, the boss only told us to come and invite Jim. It's better not to cause extra trouble. Quote. After a quick discussion, the three very sensibly chose to flee the scene. It couldn't be helped. Jackie Chan's strength was deeply engraved in their hearts. Getting beaten up was one thing, but if they were beaten, they definitely wouldn't be able to complete the task Valmont assigned. Chubai watched the 3 figures silently walking away, and the corner of his mouth twitched. These 3 guys are really cowardly, even afraid of a little kid like me. He had wanted to beat them up and then ask why they were here, but now that plan was completely ruined. But it didn't matter, it wasn't a big problem. He believed the powerful Uncle Jackie could solve these issues. The interlude ended. After buying the cotton candy, the two didn't have dinner and took a taxi back to the hotel. Having played so much today, Jade started snoring and sleeping shortly after getting into the car. Chubai watched the roadside scenery, his mood unexpectedly peaceful. Arriving at the hotel, Chubai couldn't wake Jade, who was sleeping like a dead pig, so he had to carry her on his back. Carrying Jade upstairs, since he didn't know where her room key was, he had to temporarily settle her in his own room. Just a moment before he opened the door to the next room made a crisp clicking sound as it opened. Chubai glanced over with the corner of his eye and saw Uncle Jackie dressed in night stealth gear, looking suspicious. He politely offered a greeting. "Good evening, Uncle Jackie." Ah. Perhaps due to the nervous tension of being about to do something bad, Uncle Jackie was startled by Chubai's voice. After reacting, he calmed his thumping heart. He wanted to shout loudly, but seeing Jade fast asleep on Chubai's back, he held back. He only said in a low voice, "How did you two stay out so late before coming back?" "Sorry, Uncle Jackie. What are you going to do?" After apologizing without any sincerity, Chubai asked curiously. "Kids shouldn't pry into adult business. You two stay in the hotel and sleep. Tomorrow I'll take you to see the parade." Jackie Chan looked very hurried, and Chubai didn't ask further. For him, he certainly didn't want to get involved in this muddy water. So he nodded gently to prevent waking Jade up. "Okay, Uncle Jackie. Goodbye, Uncle Jackie." This wasn't the voice from Chubai, but from Jade. Her voice was muffled and unclear, it was obvious she was still in a dazed state. Chubai's eyes rolled, and he quickly thought of a response. "Uncle Jackie. Where is Uncle Jackie? Jade, you must be dreaming." As Chubai spoke, he walked toward his room. Is that so? Then good night, Xiao Bai tilde. Falling onto the bed, Jade sank into a baby-like sleep just like that. "Good night," Chubai said softly. This time Jade was truly tired from playing, she didn't even have the energy to go out and cause trouble with Uncle Jackie. As for Uncle Jackie, he's so strong, there shouldn't be anything to worry about. In the early morning, the two little ones woke up from their dreams one after another. Jade was woken up by the urge to pee. After finishing in the bathroom, she looked at her messy hair in the mirror and let out a long sigh. Washing hair is a bit of a hassle. Chubai was woken up by the sound of water in the bathroom and checked the time. 7:20 a.m., quite early. He sat up, turned on the TV, and listening to the splashing water in the bathroom, he also sighed. He always thought Uncle Jackie's booking of 3 rooms was redundant because Jade never seemed to sleep in her own room. Boring morning shows were playing on TV. Chubai aimlessly flipped through channels until Jade walked out of the bathroom with wet hair. "Good morning, Xiao Bai. When did I get back? Why don't I remember anything?" "Because you were sleeping like a pig, nothing could wake you up." Chubai was merciless, staring at Jade with dead fish eyes. "I'm not like a pig. I was just too tired from playing yesterday." Jade retorted angrily, sitting on the edge of the bed to ask. "Today is Thanksgiving. What should we do for fun? Uncle Jackie promised us last night that we'd go see the parade today." Chubai shook his head, indicating that today's schedule was already booked by Uncle Jackie. "What? When did this happen? Why didn't I know?" Along with Jade's triple question, Chubai turned his gaze to the TV and replied. "Just last night when we came back." Hearing this, Jade's eyes widened. So me seeing Uncle Jackie in a black stealth suit wasn't a dream. Oh my god. Uncle Jackie actually went out to have fun alone behind our backs. Chubai felt a bit exhausted. By now, he no longer wanted to say things like how dangerous Uncle Jackie's actions were, because even if he did, Jade wouldn't listen. "So, where is Uncle Jackie now?" Jade asked the key question. Chubai shook his head. Just then, a familiar name appearing on the TV made them both freeze. New York Morning News reports that at 12:17 a.m. yesterday, the New York Police Department arrested the thief who stole the Pink Lion diamond from the New York Museum. He is a thief from China named Jackie Chan. Meanwhile, the stone known as a talismanic incantation was stolen from the New York Museum, and the culprit has not yet been apprehended. No way. Uncle Jackie got caught. We have to save him. Jade appeared very excited and thrilled. Chu Bai was speechless. He stood up and said while heading to the bathroom. Please, Jade, those are the police. Don't worry, Captain Black will definitely handle everything. But we can't just watch. We have to do something. Jade shouted anxiously. Then what should we do? Chu Bai asked back. As if she had thought of the answer long ago, the corner of Jade's mouth curled into a smirk like the Dragon King. We're going to find the talismanic incantation. Since the talismanic incantation isn't in Uncle Jackie's hands, it must be with the Dark Hand. Chu Bai. Well, a great plan, isn't it? Although he wanted to persuade Jade to stay put in the hotel and not run around, knowing her, that was nothing more than a pipe dream. He couldn't just let Jade do those dangerous things alone. Fortunately, looking for the talismanic incantation should be a bit safer than breaking someone out of jail. Sigh, alright. We'll go look for the talismanic incantation's whereabouts later. But first, you have to come over and dry your hair. Yay. Regarding finding the talismanic incantation, the two of them had no clue. So, after discussing, they decided to go find Uncle Jackie first. A prison visit. Because they were two children, the prison guards didn't make things difficult for them and easily agreed to the visit. However, the visiting time was only a short 10 minutes. Uncle Jackie looked a bit disheveled, likely from not sleeping all night. His dark circles were quite heavy. Jackie Chan was also very surprised by their arrival. Across the glass, he cried out in shock. Jade, how did you know? Before he could finish, Jade said with a look of pride. Your exploits have spread far and wide, Uncle Jackie. You're famous. The Phantom Thief. Stop teasing me, Jade. Captain Black will arrive in New York tomorrow, and I'll be able to get out then. By the way, where's Xiao Bai? Jackie Chan asked with some concern. Usually, these two little ones were inseparable. Why was it just Jade this time? He was a bit worried about Xiao Bai. Then, he saw a hand suddenly appear from below the glass and wave at him. At the same time, Jade spoke up helplessly, explaining for Chu Bai. The facilities here are too high, aren't they? They didn't consider the height of his kids at all. Oh, alright. Xiao Bai needs to eat more from now on and eat fewer sweets, it's bad for your teeth. Uncle Jackie was truly Uncle Jackie. Even in prison, he didn't forget to lecture the children. Jade asked impatiently. Alright, Uncle Jackie, visiting time is limited. Quickly tell us what happened last night and how you got caught. Jackie Chan gave a bitter smile. Perhaps because he had no one to talk to in prison, he poured out a general account of everything that happened last night. In other words, the talismanic incantation is now in the hands of that person named Viper. Jade asked with a beaming smile. Yes. Regarding the snake talisman, I can only wait until I get out to find a way. Jackie Chan sighed. He didn't know how many times he had sighed today as he voiced his worries. We still don't know what magic the snake talisman has. Viper and this city could be in danger at any time. Jade patted her chest and said. Don't worry, Uncle Jackie, we'll help you. Help me. Jackie didn't react at first, but soon he understood what Jade meant. His reaction was intense. He stood up abruptly, looking anxious. No. Jade. That's too dangerous. You can't do that. This isn't something you two children can get involved in. But Jade shook her head nonchalantly and looked toward Chu Bai. Anyway, Xiao Bai will protect me, right? Chu Bai's mouth twitched, and he forced a smile. Actually, Jade, I don't. But Jade didn't listen to his statement at all and just said hurriedly. Alright, Uncle Jackie, visiting time is almost over. We're leaving now. As Jade spoke, she jumped off the stool that was almost as tall as she was, then suddenly turned back. Oh, and happy Thanksgiving, Uncle Jackie. I think this will definitely be a memorable Thanksgiving for you. After saying that, she quickly left. Chu Bai sat on the chair and said helplessly. Uncle Jackie, don't worry, I'll protect Jade. Sigh, I can only leave it to you, Xiao Bai. Jackie Chan rubbed his forehead, but he was still quite at ease with Chu Bai. If a predicament arose that even Xiao Bai couldn't solve, then his own intervention would likely lead to the same result. Chu Bai had just walked out of the police station and looked around, but he did not see Jade. He frowned slightly. They had clearly come out one after the other, so why had Jade disappeared in the blink of an eye? Just as he was still puzzled, a voice from the side interrupted Chu Bai's thoughts. Hey, over here. Jade's voice was very soft. It was clear that she did not want others to know her location. Chu Bai looked in the direction of the voice and saw Jade sneaking behind a stone pillar at the entrance of the police station. Seeing Chu Bai standing there in a daze, she quickly reached out and pulled him over. Come here and hide. What are you doing? Chu Bai did not quite understand Jade's behavior, but he still followed her lead and obediently hid behind the stone pillar. Jade also signaled for Chu Bai to look over there. On the street directly opposite the police station, a slightly hunched, burly man was walking quickly across the road. He was wearing a hat, and his face was obscured by his high-turned collar, revealing only a pair of fierce eyes. That is someone from the Dark Hand. Although he hadn't had much contact with them, Chu Bai still recognized the other person based on his intuition. It's that big oaf. What is he doing here? Jade asked. The two looked at each other and simultaneously voiced the answer in their hearts. Talismanic incantation. Rasu had come to the police station alone to speak with Jackie Chan, wanting to find out the whereabouts of the talismanic incantation. Although the magical artifact given by Shendu could identify the direction of the talismanic incantation, it had a range limit. In any case, the magical artifact had not yet pinpointed the exact location of the talismanic incantation. Jackie Chan had not yet returned to his cell when he was called out again. Jackie Chan was somewhat pleased, thinking that Captain Black had arrived, but his mood plummeted instantly after seeing who it was, and his expression soured. Rasu, on the other hand, pretended to greet him in a very friendly manner. Hello, Jackie Chan. What do you want with me? Please tell me what kind of stone is under that reptile. What? Jackie Chan was completely bewildered by this sentence. Seeing that Jackie Chan did not understand what he meant, Rasu spoke more explicitly. Please tell me where that snake is sleeping. Jackie Chan clearly did not understand what the other party meant, or rather, he understood but was playing dumb. He roared. What on earth are you talking about? Rasu lost his patience and slammed his hand on the table. I'm asking where the snake talisman is. Facing Rasu's anger, Jackie Chan just smiled slightly and crossed his arms. Didn't you watch the news? I have the pink lion. Rasu did not feel any movement from the magical artifact, which proved that Jackie Chan really did not have the talismanic incantation on him. Do you have an accomplice? Rasu asked, unwilling to give up, only to receive a look from Jackie Chan as if he were looking at an idiot. He said, if there is nothing else, I will excuse myself. My delicious prison meal is waiting for me. Having said that, he stood up and left without hesitation, leaving Rasu roaring in place. I will definitely find it. When Rasu walked out of the police station in anger, he suddenly discovered that the magical artifact in his pocket was acting up. Taking it out to look, one of the dragon heads was glowing red. Clearly, that was the direction of the talismanic incantation. And this scene was seen clearly by Chu Bai and Jade, who were hiding in the shadows. It seems he has found the whereabouts of the talismanic incantation. Chu Bai whispered softly. Jade nodded, and the two stared at Rasu without blinking, watching him hide behind a vending machine. Jade was trembling with excitement. This is so cool. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Chu Bai, however, remained very rational. Shish, Jade, calm down. Ahem, okay. Soon, there was movement from the police station. Jackie Chan, wearing only a white t-shirt, seemed to be pulled by some mysterious force and walked toward an unknown place. Rasu also followed silently. Following them were Chubai and Jade. Under a bridge, where few people went, Viper revealed her figure. It was a tall woman, only slightly shorter than Uncle Jackie, with somewhat dark skin, but that still could not hide her captivating charm. She said with a smile, carrying a hint of teasing. Hey, long time no see, Master Thief. I am not a Master Thief. I am just. Jackie Chan wanted to refute, but halfway through, he realized that matters regarding Section 13 could not be known by outsiders, so he stopped himself in time. Just what? Viper raised an eyebrow. No, nothing. Why exactly did you save me? Jackie Chan asked about the real business. Mentioning this, Viper also put away her smile, preparing to talk about business. But before she could say another two sentences, a thud from another place attracted the attention of the two. They both turned their eyes there and saw a big man lying on the ground. Subsequently, two children walked out from the corner. Hi, Uncle Jackie, is this beautiful Sister Viper? Jade shouted excitedly, her eyes shining as she looked at Viper. Tall, big wavy hair, feeling a bit bad, and especially feminine. This was exactly what Jade wanted to become in the future. Jade. Chu Bai. Jackie Chan was very surprised, not expecting these two children to be able to follow him here. Are these your children? Viper was also somewhat surprised, looking at these two uninvited children with curious eyes. Yes, they are, quite naughty. After thinking for a long time, Jackie Chan could not think of what words to use to describe these two children. It was mainly Jade, she really was too worrying. Is she the person who took the talismanic incantation? Chu Bai looked at Viper and asked Uncle Jackie, but his tone was full of certainty. He had seen with his own eyes the other party suddenly appear beside Uncle Jackie, and coupled with Uncle Jackie's strange behavior just now, he quickly realized the ability of the snake talisman. The ability of the snake talisman is invisibility, right? Once this was said, even Viper was somewhat surprised. Really a smart little brat. Thanks for the compliment. Chu Bai nodded. Invisibility. That is so cool. Jade's eyes brightened even more. Alright Jade, and Chu Bai, I am currently with this, Jackie Chan really could not think of what term to use to describe Viper for a moment. After deliberating on his words, he continued. This villainous thief has something to discuss. You two stay quiet on the side, okay? Jackie Chan did it on purpose, the goal being to keep the two children from learning bad habits. You really don't give me any face in front of children. Viper crossed her arms, but did not seem to show any dissatisfaction. She then turned her gaze to Rasu, who was lying on the ground unconscious. Come to think of it, who exactly is that guy? That is a big bad guy who is worse than you. Jade described it very aptly. Alright, two little ones actually being able to knock out a bad guy who is worse than me, that's impressive. How exactly did you do it? Viper was not too surprised. After she learned the secret of the talismanic incantation, she had developed some immunity to this kind of thing. Let's get back to business, Viper. What exactly will it take for you to hand over the talismanic incantation? Uncle Jackie pulled the two children behind him, trying to prevent them from picking up bad habits while asking Viper. Viper smiled charmingly, slowly stepped 2 paces closer to Uncle Jackie, a look of certainty on her face. I want you to help me retrieve the pink lion. What? No. Absolutely not. That's illegal. As expected, Uncle Jackie reacted strongly. He was, after all, a law-abiding citizen. Upon hearing this, Viper laughed dismissively. Are you kidding me, baby face? Illegal. She called Uncle Jackie, baby face. Jade whispered to Chu Bai from behind. Shish, Jade. If you say that, Uncle Jackie will lose face. Chu Bai made a shushing gesture, but they were standing so close to Uncle Jackie that their conversation was heard clearly by him. Uncle Jackie sighed silently to himself. However, this wasn't the time to worry about that. After some thought, he decided to agree to Viper's request. This was likely the best way to retrieve the snake talisman right now. Facing Viper, who possessed the magic of the snake talisman, it was almost impossible for them to take the talismanic incantation back from her. They had to do as she asked. Fine, I agree. But why do you want to work with me? Couldn't you easily get the pink lion using the magic of the snake talisman? Uncle Jackie asked, voicing his inner doubt. Viper's answer was simple. Because the snake talisman isn't omnipotent, and magic isn't either. Fine, that makes sense. You two kids. As soon as Uncle Jackie turned his head, he saw an incredibly excited Jade and Chu Bai, who was staring with dead fish eyes. Are we starting the mission, Uncle Jackie? Jade shouted excitedly. Chu Bai just shrugged. You know, Uncle Jackie, we're very free today. The implication was that it was impossible for Jade not to follow along. Uncle Jackie clearly realized this too and slapped his forehead. Oh, alright. But you two need to stay safe. Chu Bai, keep an eye on Jade. Okay, Uncle Jackie. Chu Bai sighed. He had thought that after Uncle Jackie stole the talismanic incantation last night, they could just watch the parade today and go home to rest, but this had to happen. Jade jumped up with excitement. Awesome, Uncle Jackie. Let's go on an adventure together. This isn't an adventure. It's theft. It's illegal, Jade. You can't be like this in the future. Uncle Jackie tried to persuade Jade earnestly, but she always let it go in one ear and out the other. Okay, Uncle Jackie, got it, Uncle Jackie tilde. Because Uncle Jackie's jailbreak caused quite a commotion, they had to hide out in Viper's place to lay low. Uncle Jackie first called Uncle to report that he was safe, even though it seemed like Uncle didn't care at all whether he lived or died. Afterward, he explained the situation to Captain Black, but only received verbal support from Black. At least until they got the snake talisman back, Black wouldn't explain the situation to the police force, otherwise, it would really alert the enemy. Viper's home was large and luxurious, the extravagance of the wealthy was on full display here. In this setting, Jade subconsciously made an outrageous remark. Wow tilde Uncle Jackie, I want an ant. Uncle Jackie was stunned, while Viper, standing nearby, covered her mouth and giggled. On that point, I agree with Jade, Uncle Jackie. It was rare for Chu Bai to agree with Jade, mainly because he felt this place was exactly the home of his dreams, spacious and bright. Especially this big sofa, it was truly his dream sofa. After a short rest, the group sat together, and Viper began to explain the plan for the night. The pink lion is currently being kept in a safe at the New York Police Department. The place is full of lasers and thermal imaging devices. Most importantly, the safe can withstand the explosive power of 1 ton of TNT. It's almost impossible for us to get it out of the police station. Viper explained the current situation while swirling the red wine in her goblet. We didn't come here to hear that. Jade imitated her, swirling the cup with the remaining half of her milk, and said with feigned seriousness. Alright, Jade, we're not here to play. Uncle Jackie took the cup from Jade's hand and placed it on the table, signaling her to be quiet. HMPH. Jade snorted in dissatisfaction, but ultimately didn't say anything more. Viper chuckled twice and continued. Tonight, the pink lion will be urgently transported back to the wealthy owner it belongs to. This is our only chance. What? Are you asking me to attack the police? Uncle Jackie shouted, his face full of reluctance. No, of course not. We're just going to pull a bait and switch. Viper casually pulled a stone that looked almost identical to the pink lion from her pocket and tossed it into Uncle Jackie's hand. Uncle Jackie caught it and examined it carefully, but couldn't see any flaws. He exclaimed. It looks just like the real thing. Of course, there's actually no difference between glass and diamonds, except that glass will shatter. But I don't think anyone would be willing to let the expensive pink lion fall to the ground. Viper said smugly, elegantly raising her wine glass. Then, happy to work with you. Jade raised her milk cup. Viper was amused again and, being very polite, clinked her glass with Jade's. Sigh, I guess this is the only way. Uncle Jackie sighed. Afterward came the detailed execution plan. Of course, their plan didn't include any role for the two children. Jade was very dissatisfied, but couldn't say much. Chu Bai listened silently from the side. Their plan was perfect, with no flaws. One has to say, as expected of a thief who dared to steal the pink lion alone, she certainly had some skills. Time quickly reached the evening. Uncle Jackie and Viper went out, leaving the two lonely children behind at home. Uncle Jackie really underestimated us. He'll regret it. Jade shouted in dissatisfaction. Normally, given her action-oriented personality, she would have snuck out after Uncle Jackie left, but this time was different, they were locked inside the house. Viper's home security system was excellent, which meant Jade had absolutely no way to escape. I think Uncle Jackie would have a much easier time if you weren't there, Jade. Chu Bai lay on the sofa, just chilling. For him, this was the best outcome. But he never expected that this sentence would instead stir up Jade's competitive spirit, further strengthening her resolve to escape and find Uncle Jackie. Are you looking down on me, Chu Bai? Watch closely. I will definitely escape from here today. You should know, imprisoning children is illegal. Chu Bai stopped talking. He was afraid that if he said anything more, Jade would jump out the window. Then he heard Jade's excited shout. Got it. We can go out through the window. This is the 6th floor, Jade. Chu Bai hurriedly got up, wanting to stop Jade from this dangerous idea. But he still underestimated Jade's courage. She pushed the window open abruptly and looked down. It was very high, the cars parked below looked just like ants. You aren't actually thinking of going down from here, are you? Chu Bai also leaned his head out. Although this height didn't mean much to him, it was obvious that a normal person didn't have the ability to descend from such a height. Let alone a child. Jade, on the other hand, crossed her arms nonchalantly and revealed a confident smile. Of course, all you need to do is tie bedsheets and curtains together, and you can make a makeshift rope. Then, I wish you luck. Chu Bai sighed and went back to lie on the sofa. This was a huge project. By the time Jade finished, Uncle Jackie's operation would have long been over. And he could comfortably lie here watching TV, eating snacks, sleeping when tired, and spending a wonderful night in this luxurious room. Then, one sentence from Jade shattered his sweet dream. Hey, look what I found. A safety rope that can get us down safely. I am so lucky. Xiao Bai. Let's go. Chu Bai stared blankly at the ceiling, having doubted his decision to come to the USA more than once. It didn't seem any different from life back home, it was all fighting and killing every day. No, wait, here he also had to shoulder the responsibility of taking care of a child. He wanted to pack up and run. Sighing helplessly, he got up. He still had to go along, otherwise, if anything happened to Jade, he would be held responsible. Furthermore, from the perspective of a friend, he couldn't bear to let Jade get hurt. On the other side, Jackie and Viper had already arrived at the police station. Viper was invisible on the side, while Jackie sneaked in quietly, quickly changing his clothes after knocking out a guard. With her and Jackie working together, they soon blended in with the police transporting the diamond. They could only swap the item when the vault door opened, because if the pink lion got on the truck, they wouldn't have a chance. The moment the vault opened, Jackie was responsible for creating a distraction, such as accidentally knocking over a shelf or something. And Viper quickly headed toward the safe containing the pink lion to pick the lock. As a famous thief in the USA, the lock on this safe couldn't stump her. Jackie only needed to stall for 1 minute, and she would be able to complete the theft. And Uncle Jackie was always that reliable, even though he was recognized as the person who escaped from prison today and was pursued, he still desperately fought for that 1 minute. Then came the escape. One master thief, one kung fu wielding archaeologist. The police really couldn't do anything about them and soon lost them in a dark alley. Not until the commotion of the police grew distant did Jackie and Viper poke their heads out from the trash can. Looks like they've gone far away. Nice work, baby face, this is your reward. Viper didn't hesitate and generously gave the snake talisman to Jackie. This surprised Jackie, and he couldn't help but ask. "You're giving it to me just like that?" Facing the questioning, Viper casually tossed her hair. "Of course, my target has always been the pink lion. I'm not interested in magic or anything like that." "Alright, pleasure working with you. It seems I need to change my impression of you." Jackie was happy, and at the same time, he breathed a heavy sigh of relief. He had been afraid that the other party would go back on her word at the end. He didn't expect her to hand over the talismanic incantation so readily. Now that the mission to New York was finally completed, he could go and get a good rest. Poor Uncle Jackie, he seemed to have forgotten the fact that he was still being wanted by the police. "Oh. And what was your impression of me before?" Viper asked in return. "Ha ha ha, you wouldn't want to know." Jackie brushed it off. Just as the two were chatting happily, a shuriken flew out from nowhere and deeply embedded itself into the ground between them. Both of them were startled and looked around. Before they knew it, a group of black-clad ninjas had completely surrounded them. And the trio from the Dark Hand also walked out from among them. "Hand over the talismanic incantation, Jackie," Avon said very arrogantly. Although they were indeed very afraid of Jackie, they were acting like a fox borrowing the tiger's might. Behind them were hundreds of Shotokan ninjas. They didn't think Jackie could handle so many ninjas. Jackie's expression gradually became serious. He wouldn't sit and wait for death. Instead, he took a stance, vowing to resist to the end. On the other side, Viper didn't have such high resolve. She spread her hands. "The talismanic incantation is with him, it has nothing to do with me. I'm leaving first." Saying this, she turned and left very decisively, leaving the battlefield to Jackie alone. Jackie was shocked. Jackie was speechless. He hadn't expected that the companion who had been fighting side by side with him just moments ago would abandon him so decisively. But he knew he couldn't blame Viper, as these matters had nothing to do with her in the first place. "Ha ha ha, Jackie, even your companion has abandoned you. You might as well just surrender and die. No. Make him hand over the magical artifact given by Shendu before he dies." The trio spoke one after another, as if they had Jackie cornered. And Chubai and Jade were on their way. As for what they were using to find Jackie, of course, it was that so-called magical artifact that could find the talismanic incantation. That day, after knocking out Rasu, Jade had secretly hidden this thing. "Quick! The magical artifact has sensed the location of the talismanic incantation. It's over there." Jade shouted and ran in the direction indicated by the magical artifact. Since the magical artifact was glowing, it meant that Uncle Jackie was actually not far from them. As the two got closer, the sounds of fighting became more and more distinct. Following the guidance of the magical artifact, they didn't find the talismanic incantation, but they did find Uncle Jackie. At this moment, he was being beaten by a group of Shotokan soldiers and looked quite miserable. "Oh no, Uncle Jackie is going to be beaten flat. We have to help him," Jade exclaimed. "Jade, stay here." Chubai didn't hesitate. After telling Jade to stay safe, he rushed up. To be safe, Chubai had given his stun gun to Jade a long time ago, so he didn't need to worry too much about her safety. With Chubai's addition, the pressure on Jackie's side was significantly eased, but the battle on the scene wouldn't be over anytime soon. Of course, Chubai's arrival inevitably made Jackie scream in surprise. "Xiao Bai. Why are you here? Where's Jade?" As soon as he said it, Jackie realized he had asked a stupid question. Since Xiao Bai was here, Jade must be nearby. Only Jade would sneak out. Jade looked at the magical artifact in her hand that was flickering, feeling like it had a loose connection. Her eyes rolled, and a smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. "I think I can do something, too." Viper, who had already walked quite a distance, was still caught up to by Jade. Looking at the precocious child before her, Viper was very surprised. "How did you find me? Little one. You don't need to know that much." All you need to know is that if you don't go help Uncle Jackie and Chubai right now, those terrifying Shotokan ninjas will show up at your doorstep next. Jade crossed her arms, her words full of threats. But this also made Viper fall into deep thought. What Jade said made sense. She really couldn't deal with those Shotokan ninjas on her own. Rather than holding onto this magical talismanic incantation and putting half her life in danger, it would be better to hand it over to gain the favor of that baby face. Therefore, she nodded and agreed. Fine, you win. Now let's go save that baby face. Haha, you're sensible. Jade's face lit up with a smile again, and she unobtrusively lowered the hand she had placed on her waist. It looked like this thing wouldn't be needed. Meanwhile, on Uncle Jackie and Chubai's side, the battle between them and the Shotokan ninjas had reached a fever pitch. With their close coordination, they would soon be able to wipe out all the ninjas here. The Dark Hand trio was already sweating profusely. They never expected that not only was Jackie strong, but this child was also this powerful. It completely overturned their worldview. Agile movements, ruthless attacks, every move was fatal. They didn't dare to imagine how they would have been cruelly treated if the three of them had followed this little guy into the restroom at the amusement park that day. At this moment, they were incredibly grateful for their decision to run away back then. Fortunately, they had invited that person over. With a piercing gunshot, the movements of everyone present froze as if a pause button had been pressed. Everyone's gaze turned in unison toward the direction of the gunshot. It was a person dressed in cowboy attire, standing with his back to them under a street lamp, one hand holding a gun pointed at the sky. Under the light, the white smoke rising from the muzzle was very conspicuous. Clearly, the gunshot just now had come from him. Jim. Chubai narrowed his eyes. This was the only opponent he found tricky. His marksmanship was top-notch, and his escape skills were also superb. He was very troublesome. He alone could completely restrict his performance. How do you know his name? Jackie looked at Chubai in surprise, but didn't get an answer from him. Jackie didn't mind. He knew this wasn't the time to talk about that. He thought they needed to find a way to run away. That's right. It is I, the greatest sharpshooter in Mexico. G tilde. Kid, how do you know my name? Jim turned around, spun his gun stylishly, and holstered it at his waist. The greatest sharpshooter in Mexico would actually stoop to performing clown-like acts in a circus. Chubai retorted sarcastically, but didn't get the expected angry reaction. Is that so? You were actually there that day. How was my performance? Wasn't it cool when I shot the apple off that person's head blindfolded? Jim struck a flashy, cool pose, as if he were at a fan meet and greet. Subsequently, a shuriken was thrown by Chubai, rushing rapidly toward Jim. This was one he had picked up off the ground. There were many such trinkets on the ground. Jim naturally wouldn't be hit by such an attack. He just tilted his head slightly and dodged the blow. Kids shouldn't be fighting and killing every day. Going to school obediently is what you should be doing. Jim stood firm, assuming a posture ready to draw his gun. The atmosphere at the scene fell into an eerie silence. No one moved first, like a taut string, ready to snap at any moment. Right, we still have the talismanic incantation. Jackie seemed to remember something and took the talismanic incantation out of his pocket. Relying on the power of the snake talisman, they would surely be able to turn danger into safety. As soon as the talismanic incantation appeared, those Shotokan soldiers all subconsciously took a step back. They knew better than anyone the terror of the talismanic incantation, that was 1/12 of Shendu's power. However, no matter how much Jackie focused his mind on the talismanic incantation, he couldn't activate its effect. Instead, because he used too much force, the talismanic incantation was crushed directly. Ah! What's going on? Jackie was stunned for a moment, but quickly reacted and exclaimed. Viper tricked me. This is a fake talismanic incantation. No wonder she gave me the talismanic incantation so readily. Chubai looked at Jackie with the expression one would use for a fool. He felt that his uncle Jackie was too naive, so naive that he would even believe the words of a thief. Looks like you've been played, Jackie. Avon's mocking laughter rang out. The trio, who had been cowering and hiding behind the Shotokan soldiers after seeing Jackie take out the talismanic incantation, were now emboldened again. Because of Jim's arrival, they had regained their confidence. Go. Take them out. Just the moment after Avon issued the order, a sudden change occurred. A sudden gunshot rang out, but it struck one of the Shotokan soldiers. This unlucky soldier directly turned into black smoke and dissipated without a trace. This anomaly directly caused the Shotokan soldiers to stop in unison and look toward the direction the gunshot came from. It was exactly in Jim's direction. Although the gun in his hand was still smoking, he wore an innocent expression. I say, this gun wasn't fired by me, do you believe me? How could they possibly believe that? Although these Shotokan soldiers couldn't speak, the red glowing eyes made it clear to Jim that they were angry. It really wasn't me. Jim looked panicked, and while saying this, he fired at the group of Shotokan soldiers. Bullets flew everywhere. The Dark Hand trio was terrified, lying on the ground covering their heads, not daring to move, fearing that the bullets had no eyes and would hit them. Until several soldiers stepped forward to subdue Jim, the gunfire stopped, and Jim's gun flew far away. I told you it wasn't me. Someone controlled my hand. Jim argued, but his hands and feet were still tied up with rope. He could now only wiggle on the ground like a maggot. And when these soldiers looked back at the location where Jackie was, they found that they had long since run off without a trace. After they ran to a safe place, Viper also revealed her figure. I didn't expect you to come back to save us, you detestable liar. Clearly, Jackie was still angry because Viper had played him. But Viper just smiled and tossed the talismanic incantation to Jackie again. She said, Jade is right, this thing only brings endless trouble in my hands. Now it belongs to you. Don't worry, this is the real deal. Jackie carefully inspected it this time, and only after confirming it was real did he set his mind at ease. Alright, I have to go. The experiences of these past few days have been very interesting. I think I will remember them for a lifetime, baby face. As Viper said this, she swayed her slender waist and wanted to leave, but Jackie called out to her again. Wait. Viper turned her head and teased. What? Can't bear to part with me? No. Can you give me the pink lion? Without that thing, I'll still be caught by the police. Jackie stated his purpose and received an eye roll from Viper. She delivered cold, heartless words. That's none of my business. That's the end of part 1. Part 2 is coming soon.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and support our channel for more stories.